From a blind date came a sister who is a CEO. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 701 Strong. Qiao Yushan said angrily, Master Chu, we did have this matter before, but there is always room for negotiation. If you insist on detaining us, there will be no room for maneuver. Qiao Yushan sneered and said, maneuver? Why should my Song family maneuver with you despicable and cannibalistic demons? I'll give you a chance. 500 million per family, and you can leave. Otherwise, you can all retire in my Song family. Our Song family really doesn't need your food money. This is impossible. Everyone shouted in unison. 500 million is nothing to these big families, but don't forget that there are more than a dozen families here, and 500 million per family, which adds up to almost 10 billion. With 10 billion in funds entering the Song family, it will directly lift the Song family up. Everyone here knows this, so naturally they are unwilling to agree. Qiao Yushan snorted coldly and said, HMPH, I'll give you 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, I'll search your phones. You'll have to take care of yourself. Qiao Yushan gritted his teeth and said, okay, Master Chu, you really dare to play with fire. Let's play slowly. Qiao Yushan simply stopped replying, just raised his wrist and said lightly, 4.5 minutes left. Master Chu, you're going too far. In all these years in Bincheng, no family has detained people from other families. And you're detaining so many families, you're really... Although these people were making a lot of noise there, when they saw that the family generals of the Song family were staring at them fiercely at this time, no one dared to curse out loud. 3 minutes left. Qiao Yushan said softly again. These family members finally realized that Qiao Yushan was no longer scaring them, but was serious. If they were detained here, it would be a big loss of face. How could they still see people after the news spread out? So everyone took out their phones and quickly reported the situation here to the family. Time's up. Qiao Yushan shouted softly. Several family generals flew out and rushed directly to the people of the big families. Regardless of whether they had finished their calls or not, they directly snatched all their mobile phones. This time, it was not only Chen Dong and the 3 people who had just taken action, but also the other 3 family generals. They also saw that the Song family might rise at this time. They had just missed a great opportunity. Now if they didn't come out to show their skills, they would be expelled from the Song family. In front of the 6 wolf-like family generals, the people of these big families had no power to resist, and their mobile phones were directly snatched away. Qiao Yushan said again, now please go and rest. If you send the money, you and your family generals will naturally be allowed to leave. Several family generals directly pressed these people into a house and locked it directly from the outside. After dealing with these people, only the Song family was left here. Then the mobile phone rings rang one after another. Song Chengshan looked at Qiao Yushan with his phone in hand, hesitated for a moment, and said, Yushan, oh, the head of the family. This change of address meant that Song Chengshan had already acknowledged Qiao Yushan's identity as the head of the family. Qiao Yushan took a deep breath and then said, big brother, what's the matter? It was quite difficult for Qiao Yushan to call him big brother, but it didn't seem that difficult to say it. Qiao Chengshan's face suddenly showed a guilty look. Over the years, everyone suppressed and humiliated Qiao Yushan. Although he didn't participate much, he never spoke for Qiao Yushan. However, this was not the time to discuss these things. He said, the Qiao family called me. Qiao Yushan said without hesitation, no. Okay. Qiao Chengshan agreed, hung up the phone directly, and then turned off his phone. The other people in the Song family followed suit, and the phone ringing soon disappeared. Qiao Yushan looked at everyone in the Song family at this time and said slowly, does anyone have any objections now? Everyone immediately focused their attention on the 4 brothers of the Song family. Song Chengshan said first, I support Qiao Yushan to be the head of our Song family. In such a dangerous time, it was Yushan who stepped forward and saved our Song family from the water and fire. Song Chengai also said, I support it too. Whoever can make our Song family continue to be glorious, I will support him. Obviously Yuxi has done it, and she is indeed the second generation of our Song family and our biological sister. I have been disrespectful to my sister in the past. I apologize here now. If you are unhappy with me in the future, just get back at me. I, Song Chengyu, will never frown. Song Chengfang sighed and said, I support it too. Although he didn't say much, this sigh already showed that he was convinced. Finally, everyone focused their attention on Song Chengren. Song Chengren took a breath and said, Yuxi's performance is indeed qualified to be ahead of the family now, but I still have a question. As long as Yuxi can answer my question, I will definitely support Yuxi to be the head of the family in the future. You say. Chu Yuxi was also confident at this time. We have used thunderbolts to control the big families this time, but the big families will surely retaliate next. How should our Song family respond to this matter, and how should we protect our Song family? After saying this, the enthusiasm that had been aroused by everyone just now suddenly dropped a lot. Yes, it's a relief now, but what should we do next? Such a big family will not give up. Chu Yuxi smiled slightly and said, you are right to worry, but I have already dealt with this matter. I will make a bet with everyone now. Within 2 hours, all the heads of the big families will come to congratulate me. Not only will they agree to my request, but they will also make up a gift. How is this possible? Song Chengren frowned. Chu Yuxi said, then we will wait and see. If what I said cannot come true, then I will no longer fight for the position of the head of this family, and will no longer care about the affairs of the Song family. Seeing that Chu Yuxi was so sure, coupled with this series of measures, everyone actually believed it a little at this time. Chu Yuxi chuckled and said, no matter what, as the head of the family, I order everyone to get ready immediately. Since they are here to congratulate us, we cannot lose the courtesy of the Song family. After that, Chu Yuxi walked straight into the villa. Su Weifeng followed her directly. Everyone looked at each other in surprise. Song Chengshan coughed lightly and said, since the head of the family has given the order, we will do it. I believe the head of the family will give us a huge surprise. Song Chengyu also said with a smile, why are you all standing there? Our Song family hasn't had such a face for a long time. Everyone, get moving. The people of the Song family hurriedly got busy. Song Chengfang and Song Chengren stood together and looked at each other. Song Chengfang smiled bitterly and said, we too had a lively fight, but in the end, I was still not as good as my little sister. Song Chengren shrugged his shoulders and said, not as good as, so what, anyway, I didn't lose to you. Chapter 702, Resurrection. Chu Yuxi and Su Weifeng came to the old man's room at this time. The old man was lying on a hospital bed with a breathing tube inserted in his nose. Except for the slight rise and fall of his chest, he looked like a dead man. Chu Yuxi stood in front of the bed, motionless, with an uncertain expression on her face, sometimes gritting her teeth in hatred, and sometimes showing a sad face. Su Weifeng could understand Chu Yuxi's feelings. This man, who was only one breath left, gave Chu Yuxi life, but he greatly hurt her mother, and brought Chu Yuxi endless humiliation. Originally, Chu Yuxi had always been full of hatred and wanted to destroy the Song family, but now she has saved the Song family and wants to bring these people who once hated her to the bone together. Su Weifeng gently hugged Chu Yuxi's waist and said, do you want him to say a few words to you? Ah! Chu Yuxi exclaimed, turned her head, and looked at Su Weifeng in horror. Su Weifeng nodded and said, I have a way to make him sober for a short time, but it's not to save him. This. Chu Yuxi hesitated and didn't answer. It was obvious that this matter made her very entangled. Su Weifeng smiled slightly and said, no matter what, let him know that you, the daughter, finally took on the burden of the Song family. It's also good that the Song family didn't destroy it. Chu Yuxi took a deep breath and said, okay. Su Weifeng said again, then I'll call them over, so that there will be a witness. Chu Yuxi nodded. After a while, Song Chengshan and his 4 brothers came over, thinking that Chu Yuxi had some instructions. Chu Yuxi took a breath, turned around and said, I want him to wake up and say a few words to me. Wake up? How is this possible? Song Chengyu widened his eyes. The other 3 were also shocked by Chu Yuxi's suggestion. Chu Yuxi looked at Su Weifeng and said, Weifeng has a way, but it's only a short awakening. I just want to understand my unfulfilled wish, but I still need your consent for this matter. The four grown men hesitated for a moment and looked at each other. Song Chengshan said, I have no objection to this. Being able to let my father see you back should be considered as fulfilling his regrets. The other three also nodded. This matter did not have a big impact, and they naturally would not refuse Chu Yuxi as the head of the family. Chu Yuxi nodded to Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng stood beside the old man, put his hands together like swords, first touched the old man's chest, then pressed his fingers on the old man's body, and went up along his neck, all the way to the old man's forehead. Wake up! Su Weifeng shouted softly, paused his fingers, and then gently lifted them from the old man's forehead. The old man's eyelids trembled twice, and then really opened his eyes. The four brothers of the Song family, as well as Chu Yuxi, were completely stunned at this time. The old man is now almost like a vegetable, relying on a ventilator and nutrient solution to survive. He is basically a living dead. Even if Su Weifeng said it was okay, they didn't believe it at all. Even Chu Yuxi was skeptical just now. Now the five people were completely shocked. Then the four brothers shouted in surprise, Dad, you're awake. That's great. The old man's eyes swept across the faces of his four sons one by one, and finally stopped at Chu Yuxi's face. Yuxi. The old man's throat moved, and he actually made a sound. Although the sound was not loud and a little vague, everyone could still roughly understand it. And there was also a kind of excitement in this voice. Chu Yuxi's lips moved twice, and finally shouted out the name that he didn't know how many years he had hidden in his heart. Dad. The old man's lips trembled with excitement, but his breathing suddenly became rapid, and it was obvious that he was about to die. Su Weifeng quickly put his hands on the old man's chest and said in a deep voice, Don't get excited, old man. You only have a few minutes to talk to them now. Don't waste time. The old man's breathing stabilized at this time, and his eyes became bright. This is almost a person's last moments. That is, the remaining energy in the body is concentrated and burst out, which will make the dying person have a rare spirit. Thank you. The old man said, and immediately said, Yuxi has recognized me as her father, so she is a member of the Song family. You four brothers must not bully her again in the future. The four of them nodded quickly, knowing that at this time, they could not waste time, and they did not want to interrupt, so they tried their best to leave time for the old man. Regarding the family property, I have left a will. You just need to execute it according to the will. It's fine if the Song family doesn't have it. The four of you brothers don't have to fight over it. Besides, without the Song family, you will live safer. Song Chengshan said quickly, Dad, the Song family's crisis has been resolved. We now will nominate Yuxi as the head of our Song family. Even though he was a dying man, he was shocked and shouted, Yuxi? The head of the Song family? Song Chengren said at this time, yes. Today Yuxi and her husband Su Weifeng intimidated the 16 families who came to our door to destroy our Song family and directly increased the Song family's assets by tens of billions. Now we are all convinced by Yuxi. Song Chengfang also said, yes, we all support Yuxi. Dad, don't worry. The old man looked at Chu Yuxi, suddenly laughed, and said, I never thought that the big mistake I made back then actually made my Song family. Yuxi, I know you hate the Song family. Since you have the Song family, you can do whatever you want. Finally, just leave a way out for the brothers. Chu Yuxi sighed and said, let the past be the past. The old man's eyes met Chu Yuxi's, and he never looked away until they slowly lost their luster, and finally slowly closed, and could never be opened again. The old man had not yet died, and he had returned to the state of a vegetative state, but there was clearly a relieved smile on his face. Everyone came out, and Song Chengshan and the others saw that Chu Yuxi had no instructions, so they went downstairs directly. But before going downstairs, they all subconsciously glanced at Su Weifeng, and the awe in their eyes became stronger. This man is simply too amazing. Even a vegetative person can be brought back to life, even if it's only for a few minutes, but this is amazing enough. Such a magical man is Chu Yuxi's man. So it seems that there is really no problem for Chu Yuxi to take charge of the Song family. Chu Yuxi came to the window, stared out the window in a daze, and didn't speak for a long time. Su Weifeng gently put his arm around her shoulders and said, can't you let it go? Chu Yuxi tilted her head and leaned on Su Weifeng's shoulder, saying, he's already like this, what's the point if I don't let it go? I hope that one day he can apologize to my mother. Patriarch. The patriarch of the Li family is here. Chapter 703, The Power of the Patriarch. Song Chengshan immediately said, let's go and greet them. Song Chengfang and others were about to go down. Chu Yuxi said calmly, no need, just let them wait. This. Song Chengshan hesitated. Chu Yuxi snorted and said, they bully our Song family, should we treat them with courtesy? Let them wait. Chu Yuxi said this very toughly, without any tone of negotiation. Song Chengshan smiled awkwardly and said, we are not confident enough recently, please don't blame us, Patriarch. Chu Yuxi nodded and said, from today on, our Song family will not only stand up, but also show the momentum of the first family in Bincheng. The first family. Song Chengshan and others suddenly had fanatical eyes. The first family is not named by others, but it is a manifestation of strength. To be the first family means that the Song family must be superior to all other families, and it must be much stronger, otherwise you are not qualified to be the first family. If this is true, the Song family will reach its most glorious moment. The first person here will have a huge rise in status. Even if he is not the head of the family, his status may be higher than that of the head of the family. Even Song Chengfang and Song Chengrun, who wanted to compete for the position of head of the family, had to admit that they were also tempted and had more respect for Chu Yuxi. However, Song Chengshan and the others were a little nervous. The heads of these big families have such high status. When they came here, the main figures did not go down to greet them. If they got angry, it would be difficult for the Song family to deal with them. But what surprised them was that the heads of these big families arrived one after another, and no one got angry. They even chatted very little. They sat there one by one, like old monks in meditation. This silence made them feel terrible. Half an hour later, Chu Yuxi brought everyone to the living room. As soon as she appeared, all the heads of the families stood up, and no one was arrogant and sat down. Chu Yuxi smiled slightly and said, all the family heads have come from afar. Please don't blame me for not welcoming you. All the family heads were polite and their attitudes were still quite good. Chu Yuxi just said this politely, and then said directly, please take a seat. Later, I will give you an account number. You can deposit the money into the account. The Song family members were all shocked at this time. This was too direct and too impolite. The people here were all people who could make Bincheng tremble with a stomp of their feet. The Song family still detained their people. They were so direct and impolite to ask for money. These people would immediately go crazy. The family heads of the big families were silent for a while, and then they all nodded silently. Agree. Agree now? The Song family members were all stunned and couldn't believe their eyes. This was absolutely impossible. The family heads were just temporarily patient, and then they would explode directly. Yes, it should be like this. But when Song Chengshan sent the account to everyone, these people actually started asking people to operate it one by one, as if they were all paying money. Chu Yuxi waited until everyone had completed the operation, then smiled and said, thank you, all the family heads. Yuxi is the first family head today. Thank you for coming to congratulate me. I hope you will take care of me in the future. Ha. With a long laugh, the head of the Zhao family stood up and said, Master Chu, it is a blessing for the Song family and Bincheng to have you lead the Song family. In the future, we will have to ask Master Chu to lead everyone to develop together, so that our Bincheng family can not only develop in Bincheng, but also gain a foothold in the entire city. The head of the Lin family also stood up and said, that's right. Master Chu, we are all old and have no drive. We need young people like you to lead the family better. In the future, if the head of the Chu family has any instructions, our Lin family will definitely follow the lead of the Song family. The other family heads also echoed. The people of the Song family were all dumbfounded at this time. The meaning of these family heads' words is too clear. That is, they will respect the Song family in the future. Especially the Zhao family and the Lin family, the two largest families in Bincheng, took the lead in expressing their opinions, which further proves the truth of this matter. What is going on? Are the heads of these families crazy? Does the Song family have such a strong appeal now? Chu Yuxi stood up and said apologetically, "Dear family heads, I'm very offended this time. Yuxi is still inexperienced. Please forgive me if there is anything I'm not considerate of in the future." After some politeness, the heads of the major families also said goodbye quickly. Of course, there were also the family children who were detained in advance. This time, Chu Yuxi took the Song family and sent them to the gate. When they returned to the Song family hall, everyone looked at Chu Yuxi with fanaticism and awe. Some people were very nervous at this time. When they were swept by Chu Yuxi's eyes, they felt their legs trembling. They had been too disrespectful to Chu Yuxi in the past. If Chu Yuxi said anything, they would definitely be expelled from the Song family, and no one would plead for them. It was very simple. Now Chu Yuxi's prestige has been established. The Song family has been completely convinced, and is looking forward to Chu Yuxi leading everyone, and the Song family to greater glory. Chu Yuxi's eyes also swept over those people in the Song family who had humiliated her, and she said nothing. Song Chenggren took a breath and cast a look at Song Qijiang. Song Qijiang bit his lip, then came directly in front of Chu Yuxi, knelt down with a plop, and said, "Master, Qijiang has been disrespectful to you in the past. I know I deserve death. Please punish me." Chu Yuxi sighed lightly, with a complicated look in her eyes, but still waved her hand and said, "Let's not talk about the past." Song Qijiang was very surprised and thanked him repeatedly. Song Chengshan also hurriedly said, "The broad-mindedness of the patriarch makes us realize how narrow-minded and ignorant we were before. From today on, if anyone in our Song family dares to disrespect the patriarch again, they will be expelled from the Song family." Yes. All the people in the Song family responded in unison, especially those who had offended Chu Yuxi in the past. They were even more excited at this time. They had to perform well in front of Chu Yuxi. Next, there was another series of things to be arranged. It was not until the evening that everyone dispersed. Su Weifeng basically said nothing about all this, and let Chu Yuxi handle everything. Chu Yuxi lived up to everyone's expectations, and handled things in an orderly manner. She really had the demeanor of a patriarch. When the two returned to the room specially cleaned up for Chu Yuxi threw herself into Su Weifeng's arms, hugged Su Weifeng tightly, raised her head, and said domineeringly, "Kiss me." Chapter 704 I'll give you the capital. The kiss lasted for 10 minutes before it stopped. Su Weifeng had not reached that state. To put it bluntly, his relationship with Chu Yuxi was still a relationship of interest, not true love. However, Su Weifeng did not deny that when he kissed Chu Yuxi, he wanted to kiss her from the bottom of his heart. Although it could not reach love, he already had the feeling of liking her. "Thank you." Chu Yuxi snuggled in Su Weifeng's arms, her face flushed, and said softly, "You are still so polite to me." Su Weifeng smiled slightly. Chu Yuxi immediately raised her chin playfully and said, "Yes, there is no need to be polite to you. My people are all yours. I feel at ease to help my woman do something." Su Weifeng chuckled and said, "Yes." Chu Yuxi squinted her eyes and said, "Then tonight, do I have to give you the principal? This?" Su Weifeng immediately showed a tangled look. "Huh? What's your attitude?" Chu Yuxi pouted in dissatisfaction and said, "Don't you want me?" Su Weifeng kissed Chu Yuxi gently on the forehead and said, "It's not that I don't want to, but it's not the right time yet." "Not yet? Your reason is really weird. Do you feel uncomfortable a few days a month?" Su Weifeng chuckled and said, "How can a grown man like me be like this? I have other reasons. Just like Teo. I'm not really like that with him now." "Ah." Chu Yuxi's eyes widened immediately and said, "You are not sick, are you? God, if a man like you has a problem, it would be a waste of God's gift." Su Weifeng coughed awkwardly and said, "That's not the reason. Let me put it this way, just think of me as practicing a kind of kung fu, and I can't lose my virginity yet." "Can't lose my virginity, he?" Chu Yuxi suddenly giggled, and said as she laughed, "Are you going to be a monk?" Chu Yuxi was still hugging Su Weifeng, laughing so hard that her body shook, which made Su Weifeng feel uncomfortable. He smiled bitterly and said, "Don't tease me. If I can't help it, and really eat you, then I will lose." Chu Yuxi pushed Su Weifeng away, and asked in confusion, "Loss, is it good for you to endure it like this?" "Yes, this is all I can tell you now." Chu Yuxi narrowed her eyes and said, okay, I understand. Then I won't tease you, but I'm really ready, and it's disappointing to get such a result. Or, I don't want that benefit. Su Weifeng was really tempted. A woman like Chu Yuxi is really too tempting for men. She is the kind of woman who makes people make mistakes too easily. Chu Yuxi chuckled and said, how can that be? Since it's good for you, how can I be so ignorant? Just bear with it. My first time must be reserved for you. Whenever you want it, I will give it to you. Su Weifeng's heart was moved again, and he said, I believe it won't be long before I can eat you up to the last bone. Then I'll be waiting for that day. Chu Yuxi threw Su Weifeng another coquettish look, and then directly changed the subject, saying, do you think I can use all these people in the Song family? Su Weifeng took a deep breath, calmed down his emotions, and said, you have to use them now, but for some important positions, you still have to find people you trust. Some people you don't like can be temporarily used in unimportant places. We don't need to be so generous. We just want them to know that you have offended me. I'm now observing you to see how you perform. Chu Yuxi nodded and said, okay, then I have a clear idea. In fact, there are some people who make me unhappy. If I say that I don't care at all, I will be very unhappy. After talking about business for a while, Su Weifeng left Chu Yuxi. He was afraid that he would not be able to resist Chu Yuxi's temptation and eat her directly in the end. When he returned to the villa where he lived, Tao Tao was still sitting on the sofa and gave him a contemptuous look. Su Weifeng knew that this girl must have peeked again just now, and she was a little dissatisfied for not seeing the real sex scene. Sir. Liu King and Liu Jia showed nervous expressions on their faces. Tao Tao said proudly, I broadcast the Song family's affairs live, and the two of them saw it. The two of them knelt down in front of Su Weifeng, their faces pale and bloodless. Liu King said with tears in his eyes, sir, we were sent by the second master. He did ask us to monitor your every move, and we were just following his orders. Liu Jia also choked up and said, sir, we really didn't do anything to harm you. Su Weifeng waved his hand and said, well, I know, I won't blame you. Liu King and Liu Jia's faces became even uglier, and they knelt there, and didn't dare to get up. Tao Tao chuckled and said, they thought you were talking in a sarcastic way. Su Weifeng couldn't help but say, don't worry, I don't care about you two little girls, get up. Liu King and Liu Jia stood up uneasily, but they were still obviously very scared. Su Weifeng sat down, looked at the two of them, and said, now you don't have to listen to the second master. Liu King immediately said, yes, we will definitely be loyal to the master in the future and only listen to the master. If we are half-hearted about the master, then we will not die well. Liu Jia also nodded vigorously and said, we will definitely be good little maids to the master in the future, and serve the master well. Su Weifeng smiled and said, no need to be like this. You are still young. How can you be a little maid for your whole life? Don't you have any ideals? Ideals? Liu King and Liu Jia both looked at Su Weifeng in fear, and then shook their heads vigorously. Su Weifeng stroked his forehead and said, do you want to be two little maids serving people all your life? Liu King and Liu Jia both nodded vigorously. Tao Tao chuckled and said, ha, they have been trained like this since they were young. They only have one idea in their minds, and that is to serve the Song family and then take good care of the people they have to take care of. Moreover, all the skills they have learned are to serve men. You ask them to talk about ideals, which is really a bit ridiculous. Su Weifeng frowned and said, will their lives be ruined then? Tao Tao smiled and said, if you send them back to the Song family, they will definitely be sent out to others by the Song family. If they are given to some old man, that would be their sorrow. And even if they have any other ideas, do they dare to say it now? That's true. Su Weifeng thought about it, and it made sense. He looked at the two of them and said, then you just follow me first. When you have any ideas in the future, I will place you. Chapter 705 Kaking's Temptation. You two, go and help the gentleman take a bath, and serve him well. Tao Tao blinked and smiled wickedly. Liu King and Liu Jia quickly agreed. Su Weifeng rolled his eyes at Tao Tao and said, no, I don't need to put on an act for Song Chengfang. Liu King and Liu Jia immediately said in panic, sir, we don't have such an idea. Teo chuckled and said, just let them serve you, otherwise they won't be able to sleep well tonight. Liu King and Liu Jia nodded repeatedly, with pleading eyes. Su Weifeng shook his head and said, okay, but there's no need to take a bath. Give me a massage later. Teo rolled her eyes at Su Weifeng and said, what a fool. You don't even know how to enjoy it. Su Weifeng blinked at Teo and said, if you come to serve me in the bath, I will enjoy it. Teo glared and said, bah, you're dreaming. You can serve me. Su Weifeng laughed and said, okay, then I'm also willing to serve. Ah, you big bad guy, you want to take advantage of me, no way. Teo raised his chin and ran upstairs. Su Weifeng laughed and went directly to the bathroom to take a comfortable bath. While taking a bath, he took out his mobile phone and sent a message to Meng Keqing, wanting to talk to her about what happened here today. His work was almost done. Next, it was Meng Keqing who arranged for the Song family to do specific things. Unexpectedly, Meng Keqing did not reply to the message, but directly sent a video request. Su Weifeng hung up immediately, and Meng Keqing asked immediately, why didn't you answer? Are you doing something bad? Are you afraid that I will see it? I'm taking a bath. Meng Keqing directly sent another video. Su Weifeng couldn't help but smile. Meng Keqing was so direct and enthusiastic. This time, Su Weifeng answered the video, and Meng Keqing's head picture came from it. Huh. Why does it look like she is taking a bath in the bathtub? I wanted to give you some benefits, but I didn't expect that I can also earn it. Meng Keqing's face was full of mischievous smiles, and her laughter was sweet and full of temptation. Su Weifeng laughed out loud immediately. He was a little embarrassed at first, but it disappeared in an instant, and said, this benefit is just for show, isn't it sincere? Meng Keqing blinked and said, then where else do you want to see? What do you think? Su Weifeng asked with a smile. Your lustful eyes have completely betrayed you, but I'm a girl, how can I let you look at me casually? So not casually, then can you pick a random one for me to see? I'm afraid you won't be able to bear it after seeing it. What if you can't help it? You won't take the two little girls who serve you? Su Weifeng chuckled and said, even if I can't help it, I will take action against Teo. How can I take action against the two little girls? Meng Keqing said with a smile, forget it. Teo can't take action so quickly, but I can allow you to take action against the two little girls. No way. You are too simple. Isn't that good? That's great. I can't bear it. No, you want to see me, then you have to show some sincerity first. Su Weifeng narrowed his eyes and said, what sincerity? You have to let me see first. Meng Keqing pouted and said, are you pretending to be confused? Look, okay, I'm a grown man. Why am I afraid of this? Su Weifeng immediately straightened up and exposed his upper body. Su Weifeng thought Meng Keqing would scold him for cheating, but he didn't expect Meng Keqing's eyes to suddenly become infatuated. No way. Su Weifeng widened his eyes and said, you can't bear it like this? Meng Keqing's eyes became extremely gentle and said, you suffered all these injuries for me. Every time I see your scars, my heart is extremely moved, as if I have returned to the time when we were escaping in the jungle. Su Weifeng sat back and said softly, don't always think about these, otherwise I always feel that you are repaying me. Even if it's repaying a favor, it's okay. Meng Keqing pouted and said, a man has suffered such a serious injury for me, that's enough to move me, and it will make me feel how good you are to me, and how much you love me. Haven't you seen that many people have their girlfriend's name tattooed on their bodies? How many tattoos have you done for me? If you put it that way, it seems that no man can express it as well as I do. Meng Keqing said playfully, that's right, otherwise why would I like to see it so much? Haha, I've let you see what you like to see so much, so now don't you let me see something you like to see. Want to see? Yeah, I want to see it. Really? Yeah. Su Weifeng nodded repeatedly. Meng Keqing had already whetted his appetite. At this time, he was already scratching his heart and liver and was very anxious. Meng Keqing's face turned red and she pouted her lips and said, then take a look. Okay. Song Weifeng agreed repeatedly. Meng Keqing pouted her lips again and said, just one look, don't be greedy. Su Weifeng nodded repeatedly and said, okay, you are going to make me anxious to death. Seeing you so anxious, I feel very happy. You are so mean. Okay. Menkeking smiled and said, then let you take a look. Anyway, it will be yours sooner or later. You'd better open your eyes wide, otherwise you will miss it. Su Weifeng even held his breath, for fear of missing the most exciting scene. Menkeking's neck slowly rose up, revealing her flawless white neck, and then the screen suddenly went black. It went black so suddenly, without any warning. The screen also prompted that the other party had hung up the video. Su Weifeng was so angry. Menkeking was so mean. She had made him so upset that she actually cut off the video. This was simply too inhumane. Keking. Su Weifeng sent a voice message, just calling Menkeking's name, but the voice was full of resentment. That kind of grievance and resentment could make the listener cry. But Menkeking didn't even reply. Su Weifeng knew that Menkeking must have answered the phone or something, and it shouldn't be her intention to not let him see it, which immediately comforted him a lot. Now he can only wait, hoping that Menkeking can video chat with her again after she finishes the call, so that he won't feel resentful. But think about it, a grown man with countless beauties around him, but he can be like this, just because of a glance. It's really a waste of his career. The notification sound of the mobile video sounded again. It was sent by Menkeking. Su Weifeng was immediately excited and quickly answered it. Chapter 706 Stay. As soon as the video was connected, Menkeking's face was revealed, but she was actually wearing clothes. Menkeking's face was full of apology, and she said, honey, I'm so sorry, I have something urgent here, I have to go and deal with it. Su Weifeng was really unhappy at first, but Menkeking's apology made him feel that he shouldn't have done it. He smiled slightly and said, go and do it, if you have something to do. We are not in this situation overnight. Honey, you are so nice. Next time, I will let you see enough. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Go and do it quickly. Menkeking blinked and said, I'm in a hurry to go out. What about you? You don't have to be in a hurry. What do you mean? Menkeking's face turned red, but her eyes were unusually bright. She said, get up and let me see you. Su Weifeng couldn't help but blush. Hurry up, a grown man. You are still so shy. Okay. Coming out of the bathroom, Su Weifeng's face was still flushed with excitement. He met Menkeking's request, and then saw Menkeking's excited eyes, and seeing Menkeking's excitement, he seemed to get a great satisfaction. Back to the bedroom, he found that Liu King and Liu Jia, the two little girls, were there. Cao Cao was lying on the bed at this time, and the two were giving her a massage. She really enjoyed it. Come on, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Cao Cao called Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng also went directly to the bed. After lying on the bed, Liu King came over to give her a massage. This was quite enjoyable, but Su Weifeng did not take advantage of them again. He didn't have to act, and he couldn't get over this mental barrier. But today Su Weifeng's self-control was obviously very poor. The three beautiful women around him were so tempting to him that he always wanted to do something. He couldn't do anything to Liu King and Liu Jia, but he couldn't let Cao Cao go. After a while, Su Weifeng said, okay, I'm sleepy, you guys go and have a rest. Liu King and Liu Jia agreed and quickly left. Cao Cao said unhappily, I'm enjoying the massage, why are you driving them away? They are not doing a good job, I'll do it for you. Su Weifeng smiled and approached Cao Cao. Cao Cao immediately turned over and tried to escape, saying, I don't need you to massage me, I don't need you to massage me. That's not up to you. Su Weifeng held Cao Cao down. Cao Cao protected his chest with both hands, feeling like a little lamb, and Su Weifeng like a hungry wolf. What are you doing? What are you doing? Stop it now, or I'll scream. Su Weifeng laughed evilly, a little bit vulgarly, and said, scream. Even if you scream your throat out, no one will come to save you, and, the louder you scream, the more excited I will be. Cao Cao said with a sad face, you don't really want to have sex with me, do you? Yes, I will fuck you today. Su Weifeng nodded heavily. Okay, come on. Cao Cao suddenly blinked her eyes, with a wicked smile on her face. Su Weifeng was stunned for a moment. Does this girl have any other tricks? Cao Cao said with a smile. Come on, be careful, don't get yourself covered in blood. Puff. Su Weifeng burst out laughing and said, "You have your period." Tao Tao said proudly, "Yes, haha, it's not that I don't give you a chance, it's that you picked a bad day, it just came today." Su Weifeng's smile faded and said, "You don't have to have sex, but you can always do something else first. Hey, you are so impulsive today. Ah, I know. Are you stimulated by kecking? Ah, it must be like this." She teased you. "Are you using me to fight back? This is too unfair." Su Weifeng laughed and said, "Anyway, you can't escape today." Then he threw himself on Tao Tao. "Ah, bad guy, I'm so wronged." Tao Tao screamed twice, struggled twice, and her arms were already around Su Weifeng's neck, hugging tightly, and hugging tighter. Then, Su Weifeng entered that state again. The next day, Su Weifeng brought Liu King and Liu Jia to Song's house. When Song Chengfang saw them, he felt guilty and came to explain to Su Weifeng, "Mr. Su, I always had to be wary of you at that time, so I sent them over. I hope Mr. Su won't blame me." Su Weifeng smiled slightly and said, "Mr. Song is a safe person for doing things this way. How could I blame him? But now they..." Song Chengfang hurriedly said, "They are all members of the Song family, so of course they can be sent by Mr. Su at will. In the future, they will no longer obey my orders, but Mr. Su's." Su Weifeng nodded and said, "Then I won't be polite. Look at what Mr. Su said. There are a few more girls like this in our Song family. If Mr. Su likes, I can arrange them all for Mr. Su. Oh, look at me. This matter requires the consent of the head of the family, otherwise I would be doing a good thing, but with bad intentions." Su Weifeng laughed and said, "That's not necessary. These two are fine. If there are more, your head of the family will be angry with me." After the two of them joked for a few words, Su Weifeng asked Liu King and Liu Jia to say goodbye to their former companions. This time, he would take the two of them back to Yangcheng. There were servants in the Song family compound, and there were also some girls like Liu King. Liu King and Liu Jia found the girls who were training with them. When the two were walking on the road, the servants were very respectful to them. Not only the servants, but even the direct descendants of the Song family smiled and nodded at them. The two of them were dedicated to serving the head of the family and Su Weifeng. Now they could be said to be the celebrities of the Song family. Who dared to offend them now? They trained together every day, so they had a good relationship. As for the situation of the Song family made such a big noise yesterday, and these people also had a general understanding. Now that they knew that Liu King and Liu Jia followed the head of the family's men, they were all envious. They had no ability to control their own destiny, so they followed whoever they served, and it was completely whatever the Song family arranged. Liu King and Liu Jia were also very happy at this time. Among the friends together, they were obviously following the best people. At around 9 o'clock, the Song family gathered together again. Everyone looked at Qiao Yushan and Su Weifeng with awe in their eyes. They thought about yesterday's situation carefully last night, and the more they thought about it, the more frightened they became. The other things were easy to deal with, but in the end, all the heads of the families actually gave in, and even tried to curry favor with Qiao Yushan. This was something that people couldn't understand. What did Qiao Yushan and Su Weifeng do to restrain these heads of the families? None of the heads of the families mentioned this matter, and it can even be said that they were all cautious about it, and no one knew what they were cautious about. This matter was actually not difficult to say, but it was actually Tao Tao who hacked into the systems of these big families and directly dug out the dark history of these big families. It is almost impossible for a family to have no dark history when it has developed to this point. And if these dark histories were really to be made public, the entire family would suffer a devastating disaster. Of course, only Tao Tao's means could get these things out, and it would definitely not be possible for someone else to do it. These big families had such a big handle in Qiao Yushan's hands, so they naturally had to submit obediently. The most important point is that this also reflects Qiao Yushan's ability. No matter what method she used, it shows that she did it. This is what other families are afraid of. Su Weifeng and Qiao Yushan will not explain things. Everyone started to study a new round of work. It was another busy day. However, Su Weifeng did not participate in these, but found the family generals of the Song family. Of the 6 family generals of the Song family, Su Weifeng only found the 3 who had taken action to protect the Song family at that time. These 3 are worth training. Although the other 3 are still in the Song family, they can only be regarded as benefits. Then such people can only be used, and they cannot be given enough trust. Su Weifeng found them, and gave them a training method, as well as some fighting skills. Chen Dong and the other 2 were overjoyed. They all knew that they were so powerful yesterday. In fact, it was Su Weifeng who helped. In terms of real skills, they are actually about the same as the masters of other families. Su Weifeng gave them such benefits, and it also reflected his trust in them, and improved their status in the Song family. During the lunch break, Su Weifeng said to Chu Yuxi, "Yuxi, should we cancel one of the Song family's systems?" What? Chu Yuxi was quite curious. Su Weifeng basically did not interrupt the Song family's affairs. Let those girls who are used to serve others choose their own lives, and don't train them in the future. Chu Yuxi chuckled and said, "You want to be the final beneficiary." However, Chu Yuxi immediately nodded seriously and said, "As a woman, how can I allow such a system that oppresses women to exist? I will make arrangements." Chapter 707 Homecoming. 2 days later, Su Weifeng set foot on the land of Yangcheng. Tao Tao separated from Su Weifeng directly in Bincheng, and even did not inform Su Weifeng in advance when she left. This girl came and went without a trace. And with Su Weifeng came Liu King and Liu Jia. The 2 followed Su Weifeng on the left and right, dragging a suitcase, with excitement, expectation, and nervousness on their faces. Brother Su. As soon as he left the station, he saw Zhao Xiaoshu running over excitedly. Giving Zhao Xiaoshu a hug, Su Weifeng said, "Let me introduce you. This is my girlfriend Zhao Xiaoshu. Xiaoshu, this is Liu King and Liu Jia." "Hello, madam." Liu King and Liu Jia saluted quickly. Zhao Xiaoshu's face flushed when she was called madam, but she was also indescribably comfortable in her heart, but more of a kind of embarrassment. In front of Su Weifeng, she always treated herself as a little girl, thinking of serving Su Weifeng. Now someone treated her like this, she really couldn't get used to it. Hello. Zhao Xiaoshu didn't know what attitude to use to treat them, so he could only be polite now. Liu King and Liu Jia had been trained to read people's faces since they were young. When they saw Zhao Xiaoshu like this, they knew what was going on and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. At least this lady should be easy to get along with. Zhao Xiaoshu drove a business car over and soon returned to the villa at home. However, they still settled the 2 in Menke King's villa. Now Lin Zhuangxuan basically lives here too. The villa next to it is basically reserved for Qiao Yushan to use when she comes back. This way, everyone is convenient, and no longer has to worry about Su Weifeng's parents coming to check suddenly. Lin Zhuangxuan and Sun Yumeng were both in the company, and Zhao Xiaoshu enthusiastically arranged rooms for them. Zhao Xiaoshu said, "You can live on the 2nd floor. We all live on the 2nd floor too, so it's lively this way." Liu King hurriedly said, "Madam, if there are rooms downstairs, we should live downstairs. This way it will be convenient for us to do anything, and we won't disturb the gentlemen and the ladies. Isn't that a bit amiss?" Zhao Xiaoshu looked at Su Weifeng. Liu Jia hurriedly said, "Madam, we are just little girls serving others. How can we live with the ladies? That's too rude." Su Weifeng smiled slightly and said, "Then let them do it. There are rooms on the 1st floor. Let them live there." Zhao Xiaoshu then arranged the 2 of them on the 1st floor, and then came to Su Weifeng and whispered, "Do you really treat them as servants?" Su Weifeng said, "Let's do this for now, otherwise they won't be able to adapt. Let's talk about it after a while." Zhao Xiaoshu blinked and said, "2 such beautiful little beauties, you are willing to order them around?" Su Weifeng chuckled, pinched Zhao Xiaoshu's face, and said, "Why, in your eyes, am I the kind of person who wants to sleep with any beautiful woman I catch? Of course not." Zhao Xiaoshu stuck out his tongue and said, "I just feel that it's a pity for such a beautiful and well-behaved girl to be a servant. It's better to take her in to help you recover from your injuries." Su Weifeng laughed and said, "It's almost time now. I don't want to provoke more people. By the way, you should spend more time with them. After they get familiar with each other, you can see what plans they have for the future, and then we can arrange for them. It's too pitiful for a young girl who is less than 20 years old to live like this for the rest of her life. Oh, it's really pitiful. No." Zhao Xiaoshu raised his chin and said, how can it be pitiful? They don't have to pay much, but they can be with you, brother Su. It's definitely a great blessing. How can it be pitiful? It's clearly not pitiful at all. You. Su Weifeng caressed Zhao Xiaoshu's cheek lovingly and said, not everyone is as stupid as you and Yumeng. Zhao Xiaoshu said proudly, Sister Yumeng and I are not stupid. I think we are the smartest people. Liu King and Liu Jia simply packed themselves up and came out directly. Under Zhao Xiaoshu's leadership, they were familiar with everything here so that they could get into the role as soon as possible and do their job well. After walking around the villa, Zhao Xiaoshu took the two to another villa. When Lin Zhuangxuan and Sun Yumeng came back, Liu King and Liu Jia had already prepared a sumptuous dinner. Then the four of them sat there to eat, with Liu King and Liu Jia waiting behind them. This made Lin Zhuangxuan, Sun Yumeng and Zhao Xiaoshu extremely uncomfortable. But no matter how they persuaded, Liu King and Liu Jia refused to sit down and eat together. When they finished eating, when Sun Yumeng and Zhao Xiaoshu were about to clean up as usual, Liu King and Liu Jia were so scared that their faces turned pale. Su Weifeng directly pulled Sun Yumeng and Zhao Xiaoshu away and sat on the sofa. Sun Yumeng looked at the kitchen and said, this isn't a good idea. They just got here and we are asking them to do everything. This is a bit too bullying. Su Weifeng smiled and said, there's nothing we can do about it. For them, this is their job and responsibility. If you don't let them do it, they'll think they're not doing a good job, so you don't use them. Lin Zhuangxuan chuckled and said, well, your status has been raised. Sun Yumeng frowned and said, I just feel very uncomfortable. People are equal. I feel like they're being treated unfairly. Su Weifeng pinched Sun Yumeng's little hand and said, I've thought about this, but they were influenced too much in the past, so this has to be done step by step. So it's up to you to influence them. You have to help them establish a correct worldview and outlook on life. Lin Zhuangxuan chuckled again and said, I never thought that a rough guy like you who was a soldier could actually talk about outlook on life and worldview. Su Weifeng's face darkened. He puffed out his chest and said, who said soldiers are rough? That's a sign of masculinity. Lin Zhuangxuan blinked and said, you're not rough. You're very delicate, okay? Sun Yumeng and Zhao Xiaoshu blushed. Su Weifeng didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and said, Zhuangxuan, you female hooligan, it's been many days since I've dealt with you. You can't wait, right? Come on, who's afraid of who? Lin Zhuangxuan puffed out his chest, showing no sign of weakness. Su Weifeng laughed and directly picked up Lin Zhuangxuan horizontally, saying, then I'll let you know how miserable the consequences will be if you offend me. Ah, help, Yumeng, Xiaoshu, help. Lin Zhuangxuan pretended to struggle, but her arms had already hugged Su Weifeng's neck. Zhao Xiaoshu's eyes lit up, and she swallowed her saliva and said, Sister Yumeng, shall we go? Sun Yumeng's face turned even redder, and she spat at her and said, if you want to go, then go. I'm not going anyway. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 708, Going to Ningyuling Again. Today, the company was in jubilation. The web movie that the company shot won an award. This was filmed with the company's own investment, from the script to the shooting, and then to the post-production. Everything was done by the company itself. This web movie actually didn't make much money. With an investment of more than 6 million, it finally returned a little over 10 million, which is a profit of 4 million. But this award is different for a film and television producer. This is the industry's recognition of the company and the production team. With this award, the company's business volume will increase greatly in the future, and the future is promising. Lin Zhuangxuan was happy. In addition to being a producer, she was also a director. This was the first movie she personally led, although it was a web movie. Sun Yumeng and Zhao Xiaoshu were also very excited. They were screenwriters, and this was also a great recognition of their abilities. Su Weifeng was also happy, because he was happy to see them happy. He never cared about fame, and even preferred to be more low-key, and it would be better if no one knew who he was. After winning the award, you have to attend the award ceremony. On Friday, Su Weifeng brought Lin Zhuangsun, Zhao Xiaoshu and Sun Yumeng to Qingfeng City, the provincial capital of Zhengdan Province. The award for online movies has not been around for 2 years, and big companies are still a little disdainful of shooting such movies. Other awards, such as movies and TV series, are all from top film and television companies, and the actors, directors, and screenwriters who come are also big names. Don't look at Dream Company. It is now a little famous in the short video and online movie circles, but in the film and television circle, it is a small company with a very low status. So when Su Weifeng and his friends arrived here, no one paid attention to them. After registering, no one greeted them. They prepared to go to the room directly. While waiting for the elevator, several people came over. Zhao Xiaoshu's eyes suddenly lit up and whispered, "It's Qiao Ming." Qiao Ming is a new traffic star in China. He is very popular, but his acting skills, let's not talk about it. But now traffic is king. As long as you have traffic, there will be many people looking for you to film, and they can even treat you as an ancestor. Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangsun also turned their heads to look at Qiao Ming. Qiao Ming has long hair, a fair face, and is very handsome. If he changes into women's clothes, he doesn't even need to put on makeup, and no one will think he is a man. Qiao Ming just glanced at Su Weifeng and the others, then turned his head away, without even the thought of saying hello. "Uncle." A crisp shout rang beside Qiao Ming. "Hey, it's you. What a coincidence." Su Weifeng also showed a smile on his face. He actually met the little girl Ning Yuling here. What a coincidence. Ning Yuling jumped in front of Su Weifeng and said excitedly, "You are here to attend the award ceremony as well." Su Weifeng smiled and said, "A big online movie shot by our company won an award. What are you doing?" Ning Yuling was also quite excited at this time and said, "I participated in the filming of a TV series, which was filmed here. I came here to learn more." Su Weifeng smiled and said, "You are so amazing that you even participated in the filming of a TV series." Ning Yuling chuckled and said, "What's so amazing about it? I just had a few scenes in it. I'm mainly a production manager. I came here today to learn more." Production managers are actually people who run shows in a crew, and also serve important big name actors in the crew. Su Weifeng understood why Ning Yuling came here. It was obviously to serve Qiao Ming. However, looking at Ning Yuling's innocent smile, it was obvious that this girl was very happy, even if she did this kind of thing, so Su Weifeng didn't need to say anything more. "Are you done?" Qiao Ming frowned at this time. Ning Yuling stuck out her tongue at Su Weifeng and quickly ran back to Qiao Ming's side. Qiao Ming snorted and said, "You are my stage manager now, so you must always be by my side. Without my order, you are not allowed to greet others casually." Ning Yuling lowered her head and said softly, "I know, I won't do it again in the future." After that, she followed Qiao Ming and the others into the elevator, but before entering, she secretly waved to Su Weifeng. "Oh my god, you are so arrogant." Lin Zhuangsun curled her lips, feeling very unhappy. Zhao Xiaoshu pouted and said dissatisfiedly, "I used to like him very much. It's better to meet him in person than to hear about him. Why are you pretending?" Su Weifeng chuckled and said, "He is famous and rich. He can pretend if he wants. It has nothing to do with us." Lin Zhuangsun narrowed his eyes and said, "When did you meet the girl who called you uncle just now? How come I didn't know?" Su Weifeng said, "I met her when I went to Yulin last time, but we only met twice." Lin Zhuangsun curled her lips and said, "After 2 meetings, she is so close to you. Your skills are getting more and more powerful." Su Weifeng chuckled and said, "I just helped her a little. What's the matter? I'm picking up girls on orders." "Okay, then come over. She looks cute." Yumeng and Xiaoshu, don't you think? Zhao Xiaoshu nodded repeatedly and said, "Her eyes are very bright and spiritual. I like her too." Sun Yumeng said nothing, but also smiled and nodded. Su Weifeng couldn't help but smile. These people, for his recovery, really completely wiped out their jealous nature. When someone else came over, they stopped talking about this topic and went straight to the room upstairs. Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangsun were in one room, while Sun Yumeng and Zhao Xiaoshu were in another room. There was nothing to do at night, so they just went out for a walk. Anyway, they were not famous, and there were no reporters following them, let alone any paparazzi following them. It was quite comfortable to go out like this. When they returned to the room at night, the four of them played together for a while, before going to sleep separately. The award ceremony began the next day. Su Weifeng and the others changed into tuxedos. Seeing Su Weifeng change into a neat suit, Lin Zhuangxuan and the others' eyes lit up. Zhao Xiaoxu said, "So handsome, this is a real man. Qiao Ming is really not good." Lin Zhuangxuan said, "How can the man in our family be compared to Qiao Ming?" Zhao Xiaoxu nodded repeatedly and said, "Yes, yes, there is really no comparison. If brother Su goes to film, he will definitely be very popular." Su Weifeng laughed and said, "Only you think I'm good. Nowadays, little girls like Qiao Ming, who is a pretty boy." Zhao Xiaoxu pouted and said, "They don't know the good of handsome men." Lin Zhuangxuan and the others put on evening gowns, and they were indescribably beautiful, which made Su Weifeng feel pleasing to the eye. When walking on the red carpet, Su Weifeng and the others also had no attention. They took a few photos, and then went in directly. Chapter 709 Ning Yuling was beaten. Su Weifeng and his friends were seated in the 6th row, which was almost the last row for the ceremony. Even if they won an award, it was the least important. Lin Zhuangxuan and the others didn't mind. They were excited enough to be qualified to attend such an award ceremony and to have the opportunity to go on stage to receive the award. In addition, it was very satisfying to see the big stars in front of them. But the most important thing was to participate. When the awards were presented, the award for the internet movie was the first to be presented. In this kind of award ceremony, the later the award is, the more important it is. Only those insignificant awards will be presented early. Only Lin Zhuangxuan could go on stage to receive the award. The host just asked a question casually and then passed by. It was almost perfunctory. But even so, this was also a historic moment for their company. Su Weifeng and the other three hurriedly took their mobile phones and took pictures and photos. They must keep this most glorious moment of Lin Zhuangxuan. It would also be very effective to make some promotional videos in the company in the future. Between each award ceremony, there will be performances, all featuring big name stars. For little girls like Zhao Xiaoxu and Sun Yumeng, that is a rare benefit. Su Weifeng was no longer interested in what happened next. He said goodbye to the three of them and slipped out of the ceremony. There were still many people at the door. These were service personnel, waiting for their stars to come out. Uncle Ning Yuling was also here and came over immediately. Su Weifeng smiled slightly and said, "If you have time, let's chat." "Okay." Ning Yuling smiled sweetly and said, "I didn't thank you properly last time. What are you thanking me for?" "It's just a small thing." As they talked, the two walked to the guardrail. There was no one here, and it was relatively quiet. Su Weifeng smiled and said, "It seems that you have been doing well recently. This is all thanks to you, Uncle. After I terminated that cheating contract last time, President Wei also took care of me, so no one cheated me. I was also lucky enough to join this crew. Isn't your ideal to act? Why are you doing production management for others?" Ning Yuling didn't think it was bad. She chuckled and said, "You have to do it step by step. I don't have any qualifications. It's not easy to act directly. At least I can join the crew. Look, there was no role for me originally, and then the director thought I was good and gave me a few shots. You are quite open-minded." Ning Yuling spread her hands and said, "I can't help but open it, even if I don't want to. But if I had known that your company is so powerful and can win awards, I would have gone to your company." Su Weifeng laughed and said, "You can go now." Ning Yuling chuckled and said, "I still want to make a living on my own. If one day I can't make it, Uncle, you have to help me." Su Weifeng smiled and said, "I'm afraid that you will become famous. By then, I won't be able to invite you." Ning Yuling patted her chest and said, "How can that be possible? I should repay a drop of kindness with a spring. What's more, Uncle helped me when I was in the most difficult time. If I can really become famous one day, I will definitely go to Uncle to act in a play for free." Su Weifeng laughed and said, "I'll remember what you said." The two were chatting happily when suddenly there was a clear sound, and the thermos cup she was carrying suddenly fell to the ground. "Oh!" Ning Yuling exclaimed, and a panicked expression suddenly appeared on her face. Su Weifeng said casually. It's just a cup. Just buy another one. Ning Yuling stamped her feet anxiously and said, no, no, this is Qiao Ming's cup. It's broken now. Su Weifeng frowned and said, it's just a cup. What else can he do? Ning Yuling said with a bitter face, Qiao Ming is a misophobe. He uses his own cup to drink water. I broke his cup. He will definitely get angry when he sees it later. Su Weifeng's face sank and said, get angry? It's okay. I'll be here and see how he gets angry. Ning Yuling's eyes reddened and said, uncle, thank you, but it's nothing. Just a few words of scolding. If you confront her, he will kick me out of the crew later. Su Weifeng patted Ning Yuling on the shoulder and said, why do you have to put yourself in such a difficult position? Ning Yuling wiped her eyes, then smiled again, saying, I didn't wrong myself. If I made a mistake, I have to admit it. There is no good thing in this world that can be obtained without hard work. People must also be responsible for their own actions. Su Weifeng shook his head gently, then chuckled and said, if you say so, I really can't say anything else. But remember, some things can't be solved by you making compromises. Ning Yuling waved his fist and said, I know, uncle, I'm very fierce. If anyone wants to bully me, I will also get angry, and it's still a very scary kind. Haha. Su Weifeng laughed out loud. Just as they were talking and laughing, Qiao Ming walked over with a gloomy face. Ning Yuling's smile faded, and she hurriedly walked up to him. Qiao Ming had a gloomy face and said, didn't I tell you to wait for me at the door? Why are you walking around again? How do you do things? I'm sorry. Ning Yuling apologized quickly. Qiao Ming looked at Su Weifeng and said angrily, I told you a long time ago that, if you serve me, you should not contact other people randomly. What if there is a mess of news? Ning Yuling said hurriedly, uncle is my good friend. He will never say anything. Humph. Qiao Ming snorted coldly and said, you are really an idiot. Don't you know that someone is trying every means to dig out my information? You are so careless. I warn you, if it happens again, I will ask the crew to change people. Yes, I remember. Ning Yuling was even more cautious. Water. Qiao Ming stretched out his hand. Ning Yuling hurriedly and nervously handed the cup to Qiao Ming. After Qiao Ming took it, he was about to twist it open, but his brows frowned. Then he raised it and took a look, and suddenly became furious and said, you actually broke my cup, you idiot. Before he finished speaking, he raised his hand and slapped Ning Yuling. This was too sudden. Su Weifeng was afraid of making things difficult for Ning Yuling, so he kept some distance from them. He didn't have time to stop it, and Ning Yuling was slapped. Ning Yuling covered her face and stared at Qiao Ming in a daze, tears welling up in her eyes. Su Weifeng was furious. Although Ning Yuling was not his woman, she was also a friend. Watching his friend being beaten, especially for such a small matter, was something Su Weifeng could not tolerate. He rushed to Ning Yuling's side, slapped her back, and then hugged Ning Yuling's shoulders. Chapter 710 I'll beat you. Ning Yuling was stunned for a moment, and then she was a little dumbfounded. Su Weifeng actually hit Qiao Ming. This is too crazy. You actually hit me? Qiao Ming covered his face, and still couldn't accept this fact. Su Weifeng said with a gloomy face, yes, I hit you. You deserve a beating. You. Qiao Ming suddenly jumped up, pointed at Su Weifeng and shouted, you dare to hit me? You dare to hit me? Su Weifeng sneered and said, I hit you. Are you not convinced? For this kind of person, Su Weifeng was not polite at all, and even showed a kind of ruffian nature, raising his chin provocatively. Uncle. Ning Yuling was about to cry, grabbing Su Weifeng's arm, not knowing what to do. Su Weifeng patted Ning Yuling's hand and said, it's okay. I'm here. If anyone hits you, I'll skin him alive. You bastard, you're a big star, and you hit someone. I'll tell everyone about this. Let's see what your fans think of you tomorrow. You, just wait. Qiao Ming was shocked by Su Weifeng's momentum. The most important thing was that Su Weifeng's words hit his vital point. Traffic stars like them are most afraid of negative news. If there is any negative news, their traffic will be greatly reduced. Without traffic, they will be worthless, even if they have no acting skills. Seeing that there was no one else around, Qiao Ming breathed a sigh of relief, glared at Su Weifeng and Ning Yuling fiercely, and left quickly. Uncle. Ning Yuling smiled bitterly, not knowing what to say. She knew that Su Weifeng was trying to protect her, but this method was too direct. Then she suddenly said in horror, "Uncle, it's bad. Qiao Ming is very popular. If he targets your company, you will be in big trouble." Su Weifeng smiled slightly and said, "It's not easy for you to still think about these things at this time." Ning Yuling stomped her feet anxiously and said, "You still have the heart to joke. You should find a way to reconcile or apologize. I will also apologize to you. You must not let him pursue it. I have been taking care of him recently and know that he knows a lot of big bosses." Su Weifeng still had a calm smile on his face and said, "It would be fine if he didn't do this. If he really does this, then his road will come to an end." "Uncle, your joke is not funny at all." Su Weifeng blinked and said, "Don't you trust me so much? When has uncle ever let you down?" Ning Yuling was stunned for a moment, then hesitantly said, "Uncle, are you really not afraid of him?" "Of course I'm not afraid. He's just a little star. In your uncle's eyes, he's nothing. If I want him to be popular, he can be popular. If he's out of fashion, it'll only take a few minutes. What do you think? I'll support you and make you popular all of a sudden." Ning Yuling knew that Su Weifeng seemed to be very powerful, but she had only seen him once, and he didn't seem to be that powerful that time. But she had seen many people that Qiao Ming had contacted, and they were all people who could shake the circle with a stomp of their feet. So she didn't dare to believe that what Su Weifeng said was true. "Okay, stop joking. Let me show you your face." Su Weifeng pulled Ning Yuling to a brighter place, and his face suddenly sank again. Ning Yuling's face had clear finger marks, and it was swollen. Obviously, Qiao Ming's slap just now was really heavy. "Asshole." Su Weifeng snorted coldly. Ning Yuling hurriedly said, "Uncle, I'm fine. It doesn't hurt anymore. Don't move. I'll reduce the swelling for you." Su Weifeng's hand directly covered Ning Yuling's face. Ning Yuling was a little flustered and subconsciously wanted to escape. Su Weifeng said, "Don't move. I'm helping you reduce the swelling. I'm not taking advantage of you." "Oh." Ning Yuling quickly stood still, but she was still a little embarrassed. It was the first time in her life that a man touched her face. Her face was a little numb, but when Su Weifeng's hand was on it, she could feel that Su Weifeng's hand was very hot, and then her face felt very painful. The pain became lighter and lighter, and finally disappeared. A warm and extremely comfortable feeling became stronger and stronger. It felt like she was putting her face in her father's palm at this moment, which made Ning Yuling involuntarily intoxicated. She couldn't help but gently shake her head and rub her face against Su Weifeng's palm. "Okay." Su Weifeng took his hand away, took out his mobile phone, switched to camera mode, and said, "Take a look. Are you satisfied?" Ning Yuling suddenly felt empty. She was dazed and didn't react at all. "Hey, wake up. Are you asleep?" Su Weifeng shook the phone. "Ah." Ning Yuling came back to her senses, but her face turned red all of a sudden, and she stammered, "No, no." Su Weifeng laughed. "Haha, being so shy is not your style." Ning Yuling pouted and said, "I'm a little girl, and I haven't let a man touch my face yet. I'm scared." "Okay." Su Weifeng said with a smile. "Okay, now look at the face." Ning Yuling looked at the face in the phone and said in surprise, "There really is no trace." "Uncle, do you know magic?" "Yes, very powerful magic. I can turn you into a little rabbit." Ning Yuling laughed and said, "I don't want to be a little rabbit. I want to be a big tiger." "Ah, that's fine. A tigress." "Ah, uncle, you are so bad. You actually said I'm a tigress." Ning Yuling made a gesture of baring her teeth and claws and hit Su Weifeng twice. After laughing for a while, Ning Yuling suddenly calmed down and said, "Uncle, what should I do now?" Su Weifeng said, "There's nothing to do. I'm just a production manager. Why do you care so much?" "But," Ning Yuling was obviously reluctant and said, "This is my first time to join a crew, and I still have a play. If I give up now, it would be a pity." Su Weifeng hesitated. The easiest way was undoubtedly to let Ning Yuling leave the crew, but looking at Ning Yuling's appearance, he was obviously reluctant. He couldn't make decisions for Ning Yuling based on his own way of thinking. Ning Yuling should still walk her own life. Ning Yuling bit her lip and said, "I decided to go back to the crew. This way, if Qiao Ming wants, to do something bad to you. I can be your accomplice. Then she smiled and said, don't worry, uncle. He doesn't dare to touch me in the crew. There are many people there, and he has to protect his image. Su Weifeng was really touched. He smiled and said, okay, I respect your decision. Chapter 711, Compromise. Ning Yuling was very nervous tonight, but she didn't see Qiao Ming again until the end of the award ceremony. Qiao Ming also had his own personal assistant, who was the one who really took care of Qiao Ming's daily life, and Ning Yuling was just sent by the crew to help. So Ning Yuling didn't have to accompany Qiao Ming all the time. Ning Yuling was very nervous all night. The next morning, she came to the crew early. Everything seemed normal in the crew, and there was nothing unusual. But when Qiao Ming arrived at the crew, Ning Yuling knew that this matter might not be so easy to get over. As soon as Ning Yuling greeted Qiao Ming snorted coldly and said, how dare you come to the crew? Ning Yuling hurriedly said with a smile, please be magnanimous, Mr. Qiao. Merciful? Qiao Ming sneered and said, no one dares to hit me yet. Do you think this matter will be over? Director Li Zianqiu is also a well-known director in China, otherwise he would not have been able to shoot such a big production with an investment of nearly 200 million yuan. However, he had to be polite to Qiao Ming. Seeing Qiao Ming's gloomy face, he hurried over and said, Zio Qiao, what's wrong with you? Qiao Ming pointed at Ning Yuling and said, what's wrong? Director Li, you have to give me an explanation for this matter. The friend of the production manager you arranged for me actually hit me yesterday. Li Zianqiu frowned immediately and said, Zio Ning, what's the matter? I asked you to serve Qiao Ming because I saw that you are smart and prudent. This is a great opportunity for you, but you didn't seize it and caused trouble for me. Ning Yuling smiled bitterly and said, Director, it's all my fault. Qiao Ming glared and said, is it all over with just one sentence? Your fault. Li Zianqiu's face sank and he said, Ning Yuling, from now on, you leave the crew. Ning Yuling sighed. She had actually been prepared for this. She knew that, once Qiao Ming pursued the matter, the director would definitely drive her away, in order to calm Qiao Ming's anger. But she didn't want Su Weifeng to offend Qiao Ming because of her, so she didn't say it. Yes, thank you director for giving me the opportunity. I didn't seize it well. Thank you Mr. Qiao for taking care of me during this period. Ning Yuling said, then turned around and prepared to leave. Stop. Did I let you go? Qiao Ming's voice sounded behind him. Ning Yuling's heart skipped a beat, and she slowly turned around, with a forced smile on her face, and said, Mr. Qiao, do you have any other instructions? How dare I tell you? Your friend is so powerful that he even dares to beat me. Ning Yuling's mouth twitched, and at this time she could only bow her head silently. Qiao Ming said coldly, Ning Yuling, considering that you have been serving me for the past few days, I can let you go, but I must investigate that man. Tell me, who is he? I want to see who dares to hit me. Last night at the award ceremony, reporters and paparazzi were everywhere. Qiao Ming could only avoid them. He was even a little worried that the paparazzi would take pictures of him hitting Ning Yuling in anger. However, no news broke out this morning, so he felt relieved. If the paparazzi had taken pictures of such a scene, they would have rushed to report it, or directly come to him to negotiate and ask for money. None of these things happened, which means that no one took pictures. Then he was not afraid. Ning Yuling shook her head slightly, but said firmly, I'm so sorry, I can't tell you. Li Zianqiu frowned at Qiao Ming and said, Zio Ning, this is an opportunity for you. How can you not grasp it? What kind of friend can make you protect him so much? Ning Yuling smiled bitterly and said, Director Li, although he is just an ordinary friend of mine, he also offended Mr. Qiao to protect me. I can't betray him. Li Zianqiu felt that Ning Yuling was really loyal and worthy of praise. If it was another actor who offended him, he would really help to bear it. He is the director, and is indeed the biggest in the crew. Everyone has to listen to him, but Qiao Ming is an exception, so he can't resist this matter. It depends on Qiao Ming's opinion. Qiao Ming snorted coldly and said, Ning Yuling, do you think I really can't find out who he is? I know he is attending the ceremony. It's very easy for me to get the list of people attending the ceremony, but now I just want you to tell me yourself. Ning Yuling's heart skipped a beat. She bit her lip, raised her chin, and said, Mr. Qiao, he hit you, because I was hit by you. So the culprit is me. If you are still angry, just come to me. Qiao Ming said angrily. Who do you think you are? Is there anything you are not convinced about me hitting you? Just based on you want to resist this matter? How funny. Ning Yuling took a deep breath and said, although I'm just a small actor, no, I may not even be considered an actor, I can only be regarded as a miscellaneous stage manager, but I also know that a drop of water from others should be repaid with a spring. Uncle helped me offend you, and if I let Uncle be implicated, then I would be worse than pigs and dogs. Mr. KO, whether you want to beat or scold me, I will never say a word. Li Zai and Qiao had roughly heard the general idea from the conversation between the two, and felt that it was Qiao Ming who was wrong first in this matter. This made him want to protect Ning Yuling again. He sighed and said, Xiao Ko, since this incident has already happened, and Xiao Ning is willing to take the responsibility, you can just scold her to vent your anger. Who is your status? Why bother with a little girl like her? Qiao Ming was not willing to let it go, but the director said so, and he couldn't just ignore it. At worst, he could find that guy through other channels to settle the score. He said, Director Lee, then I'll give you face, and I have only one condition. Li Zai and Qiao immediately said, you say. Qiao Ming looked at Ning Yuling, then sneered, and said, slap yourself 10 times, and I won't pursue you. Li Zai and Qiao frowned. This condition seemed too humiliating. Ning Yuling's eyes lit up at this time. Although this matter was embarrassing, it was better than asking Qiao Ming to find trouble with Su Weifeng. She quickly said, Mr. Ko, if I slap myself 10 times, will you really not pursue it? Humph, not bad. Qiao Ming nodded. Ning Yuling hurriedly said, okay, then I'll do it. Stop it. Ning Yuling was about to raise her hand to slap herself, and a loud shout rang out at the door of the crew. Uncle, why are you here? Ning Yuling was immediately helpless. Su Weifeng's appearance at this time made the originally simple matter complicated. When Qiao Ming heard this voice, he turned around at once. His face was already livid. Chapter 712. The male protagonist said to change. Su Weifeng strode to Ning Yuling's side, snorted, and said, what a fool. Do you think he will let it go if you slap him? Qiao Ming sneered and said, you are smart and know that I won't let it go, but you are also stupid. You came to my door. Do you think I will let you go so easily today? Su Weifeng looked at Qiao Ming and said, you won't let me go. Who do you think you are? Lin Zuangsun, Zhao Xiaoshu and Sun Yumeng came with Su Weifeng. Lin Zuangsun, as a general manager, has a self-respecting status and cannot speak carelessly, but Zhao Xiaoshu did not have so many scruples. He raised his chin and said disdainfully, that's right, a traffic star dares to be so arrogant. I really don't know where you get such confidence. Traffic star. Everyone's eyes widened at once. Someone actually said that Qiao Ming was just a traffic star. What a great person he must be. But the one who spoke was a little girl who didn't look even older than Ning Yuling. This is ignorance. This is absolute ignorance. Ha. Qiao Ming suddenly laughed out loud, as if he had heard a huge joke. He patted Li Zai and Qiao on the shoulder and said, Director Lee, did you hear that? People say I'm just a small-time star with a lot of traffic. I'm embarrassed to be in your crew. Li Zai and Qiao also frowned, and said in a deep voice to Su Weifeng and others, this is the focus of the crew. Outsiders are not allowed to enter. Get out immediately. Su Weifeng said lightly, sorry, I'm not an outsider now. I'm the biggest producer of your crew. Qiao Ming was still laughing and said, PFFT, don't you brag without thinking? You're not the best at pretending. I know exactly who invested in the Deputy General Bureau. We've met and had dinner together. Who are you? Su Weifeng snorted and turned to signal Zhao Xiaoshu. Zhao Xiaoshu immediately took out a document from his bag and handed it directly to Li Zai and Qiao, saying, this is a transfer contract. Mingyang Company's 120 million investment has now been transferred to our company. This is a faxed document, and the content is still a transfer agreement. This surprised Li Zai and Qiao. Mingyang Company attached great importance to this drama, otherwise it would not have invested so much. Moreover, he had met several senior executives of Mingyang Company several times. Almost no one was skeptical about this drama. How could they transfer this investment? Kao Ming saw that Li Zianqiu's face was not right, so he hurried over to watch it. After watching it, he was also shocked. If this matter was true, then the people standing in front of him were the sponsors. Although he was angry, he was also very clear about his position. These sponsors were completely offended. And he had obviously offended them. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. How could Mingai and Company transfer? This document is just a fax. It is too easy to imitate. You are so bold that you dare to do such a thing. Kao Ming pointed at Su Weifeng and others and shouted angrily. But at this time, no one echoed him. Everyone was not stupid. Which company dared to make this joke? And it was a joke about Mingai and Company. That meant they were not going to stay in this circle. Zhao Xiaoshu sneered and said, if you don't believe it, you can call to verify it. I don't think you don't have the ability to do that, right? Kao Ming's body trembled, and Li Zianqiu had already picked up the phone and dialed it. Li Zianqiu and Kao Ming finished the call quickly. The expressions on their faces were different, but first of all, they were both extremely shocked. Li Zianqiu came directly in front of Su Weifeng, and a smile was already on his face. He said, ladies and gentlemen, I really didn't expect this to be true. I'm rude. Haha. Lin Zhuangxuan was the boss, and at this time he smiled slightly and said, Director Li, you are polite. We still have to rely on you to make money. Li Zianqiu knew that the other party had no grudges against him, so he laughed and said, as a director, this is my duty. Do you have any other requirements for this drama? Lin Zhuangxuan glanced at Kao Ming and said, I feel that the male lead is not suitable. Li Zianqiu's mouth twitched immediately, and Kao Ming's face turned pale. This meant that Kao Ming should be replaced. After a light cough, Li Zianqiu said, Mr. Lin, this Kao Ming is young and ignorant, so just teach him a lesson. After all, we have been filming this drama for more than a month, and the investment is not small. Suddenly changing the male lead, many scenes have to be reshot. Lin Zhuangxuan said lightly, reshoot it if you want. We will just make additional investments. Li Zianqiu's mouth twitched. The other party was determined to replace Kao Ming. He quickly winked at Kao Ming. This matter could only be solved by Kao Ming himself. Kao Ming also heard it, and was shocked, and angry at this time, but at this time he could only come over with a smile and said, Boss Lin, I didn't recognize the great man and offended this. Zhao Xiaoshu snorted and said, this is our CEO Su Weifeng. Kao Ming quickly said, yes, I offended CEO Su. I apologize to both CEOs here. Su Weifeng said lightly, a big star like you, I really don't dare to ask you to apologize. Director Li, you should think about it quickly, and choose a new male lead. Su Weifeng didn't give Kao Ming a chance at all. Kao Ming stared at Su Weifeng in a daze. His face became redder and redder, and the anger in his eyes became more and more intense. Suddenly he shouted, want to replace me? We have a contract, can you change it if you want? Su Weifeng smiled lightly and said, yes, I can change it, if I want to. I just don't like you. This is so willful, making everyone in the crew grin. Where did this boss come from? Kao Ming sneered and said, okay, if you want to replace me, it's fine. Your crew has breached the contract, so let's do it according to the contract. Double the signing bonus. Kao Ming's signing bonus is 60 million. If he doubles the compensation, not only will he have to pay 60 million for nothing, but he will also have to pay another 60 million. In addition, he will lose 120 million for nothing. This loss is really too big. Li Zianqiu also frowned. Ning Yuling was also frightened when she heard this. She also knew how much Kao Ming's contract fee was. If such a huge loss was caused because of her, how could she bear it? She hurriedly said to Su Weifeng, Uncle, Kao Ming has already apologized. This matter, forget it. Su Weifeng shook his head and said, it's not about whether he apologizes or not. Whether a drama is good or not. First of all, it depends on the script, and secondly, the acting skills of the actors. In the end, it all needs the director to present it. If a person who doesn't even have acting skills plays the leading role, how can the drama be good? So this male lead must be replaced. Kao Ming said angrily, then pay money. As long as you pay money, I will leave immediately. Chapter 713 It's too easy to destroy you. Su Weifeng snorted disdainfully and said, if you want to pay, then pay. At this time, the relationship had already been torn apart, and Qiao Ming said without showing any weakness, "It is written in black and white in the contract. If you don't pay, then we will see you in court. This is your unilateral breach of contract. What the result is self-evident." Li Zianqiu also smiled bitterly and said, "The contract is indeed written like this. President Su, please think twice." Su Weifeng chuckled and said, "The contract is written like this, but if there are special reasons, if we terminate the contract, not only will we not have to pay compensation, but he will have to compensate us, right?" Li Zianqiu said, "There is such a clause, unless Qiao Ming has done something to damage his image." Qiao Ming snorted and said, "Don't tell me that the news that I beat her has now spread. I know very well that no one took a picture of this incident." Su Weifeng nodded and said, "You are very smart. Yes, no one did take a picture of this incident." Qiao Ming was immediately proud and said, "Then for this matter, where there is no witness or evidence, can you say that I have damaged his image just by what you say?" Su Weifeng said calmly, "I didn't say anything about this, but netizens are very powerful. It's another matter if some people's dark history is exposed." "What?" Qiao Ming was shocked. He was not a good person before. He relied on his good image to deceive many little girls. Although he paid money to settle it after he became famous, there are always some hidden dangers in these things. The teasing on Su Weifeng's face became stronger, and he said, "Director Li, check your phone now, and then you can decide whether to use him or not." When everyone heard this, they immediately took out their phones and looked at them. After taking a look, they were all shocked. Qiao Ming's ex-girlfriend had 2 abortions for him and was dumped by Qiao Ming. Qiao Ming went to a nightclub and brought 2 beauties back to the hotel that night. It seemed that all of a sudden, the internet was flooded with negative news about Qiao Ming. And these news are not hearsay. Various photos and evidence are clearly organized, and they are all real hammers. They are not hearsay. This is fake. This is fake. It's all fake. Qiao Ming yelled angrily, but from his exasperated expression, it is enough to tell whether these news are true or not. Qiao Ming has always been an innocent boy. He always looks shy and bashful when talking about girls, so he has gathered a large number of fans. And these news are completely different from his personality. And the more such news is inconsistent with his personality, the more devastating it is to this kind of traffic star. Zhao Xiaoshu pointed at Qiao Ming and said angrily, "A scumbag like you is worthy of such a pure character? You have deceived so many young girls, and you still want to be such a character. It is simply unacceptable." There are many girls in the crew who have a good impression of Qiao Ming. When they saw the news, the way they looked at Qiao Ming changed completely. They were no longer passionate and admiring, but with contempt and anger. There is no way. Qiao Ming is like this. He relies on his face and character to attract people. Once the character collapses, he will be left with nothing. You are so cruel. Qiao Ming gritted his teeth and looked at Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng sneered and said, "You haven't even learned the most basic respect for people. What qualifications do you have to be an idol? Okay, you wait for me. This matter is not over." Qiao Ming threw down a cruel word and hurried away. He now has to discuss with his contract company and agent how to solve the current problem. If this matter is not solved well, his whole life will be ruined, and it will not be a simple matter of compensation. After Qiao Ming left, the place suddenly became quiet. Everyone looked at Su Weifeng and his group with awe. They still didn't know where these people came from. It seemed that they came to help because Qiao Ming beat Ning Yuling. Although Ning Yuling didn't have an important position in the crew, she was always diligent and sweet-spoken. Everyone had a good impression of her. But who knew that such a harmless-looking girl actually had such a powerful background, and this power was even beyond their imagination. Some people even recalled whether they had offended Ning Yuling. At this time, Lin Zhuangxuan smiled at Li Zianqiu and said, "Director Li, thank you for your concern about the casting. But there is one thing, the acting skills must be good, and the money doesn't matter." Li Zianqiu laughed at this time and said, "Mr. Lin, Mr. Su, to be honest, I have been holding back my anger these days. This guy's acting is so bad that he is simply a burden to everyone. If it weren't for his traffic in the contract, I would have wanted to kick him out a long time ago. Now I feel relieved." Lin Zhuangxuan chuckled and said, "This is a coincidence. Li Zai and Qiao said in deep agreement. Yes, I feel so good now. Acting is not just about relying on a pretty face, but also requires real skills. Xiaoning is a very good girl. I gave her a few shots. Her acting skills are on point, and she has a strong sense of camera. I will have to give her more roles later. Ning Yuling bit her lip and said, Director Lee, I just want to make a living by my own ability. If I can do it, I can do it. If I can't do it, I can't do it. You can't just take care of me because uncles have become producers. Li Zai and Qiao laughed and said, that's natural, but people always have to have the opportunity to try. At this time, Su Weifeng said, Director Lee, we won't participate in the specific work of this crew. We will leave today. If you have anything in the future, please contact us at any time. Li Zai and Qiao said, okay, I will start selecting people right away. I also have a few goals in mind. I will discuss with you after we confirm them. Zhao Xiaoshu took Ning Yuling's arm at this time and said, let's go have lunch together at noon. Oh, okay. Ning Yuling didn't know Zhao Xiaoshu at all. She only knew that he was brought by Su Weifeng, but he was so enthusiastic that she smiled. Several people left the crew and went to a hotel. After sitting down, Su Weifeng introduced Ning Yuling, saying, this is Lin Zhuangsun, this is Sun Yumeng, and this is Zhao Xiaoshu. He didn't mention their positions or anything, just their names, which was an introduction between friends. Ning Yuling said quickly, hello, three sisters. Zhao Xiaoshu chuckled and said, Yumeng and I may not be older than you, we haven't graduated from college yet. Ning Yuling said quickly, then I should be older. Zhao Xiaoshu said mischievously, even if you are older, you can't do that. You call him uncle, and we all call him brother. You are of different generations. Ning Yuling was embarrassed for a moment, and said quickly, I was just joking, don't take it seriously. What puzzled her even more now was that these three beauties were very casual and intimate with Su Weifeng, which was not what ordinary friends should show. Chapter 714 What's going on? Zhao Xiaoshu sat next to Ning Yuling and chuckled again, saying, then tell me, what is your impression of your uncle? Ning Yuling glanced at Su Weifeng and said, uncle is a good man. He helped me so much. I don't know how to thank him. Zhao Xiaoshu smiled evilly and said, it's easy to thank him. Just pledge your love to him. Ning Yuling's face flushed immediately, and she said angrily, even if I want to, uncle is not such a person. Zhao Xiaoshu blinked and said, no, he is. As long as you agree, there will be no problem. Su Weifeng coughed lightly and said, Xiaoshu, stop making trouble. I help Xiaoshu, but I don't have any intention. Lin Zhuangsun chuckled and said, Xiaoshu, look how scared you are of Yuling. Several people talked and laughed, making Ning Yuling even more confused. Fortunately, the dishes came at this time, which temporarily resolved Ning Yuling's embarrassment. While eating, Ning Yuling was also observing everyone's actions. Then she discovered something that made her dumbfounded. Lin Zhuangsun, Sun Yumeng, and Zhao Xiaoshu all picked up food for Su Weifeng from time to time. What made her speechless was that they even put the food they had taken a bite of on Su Weifeng's plate. And Su Weifeng actually ate it directly. Whether it was Su Weifeng, Lin Zhuangsun, Sun Yumeng, or Zhao Xiaoshu, they all seemed so natural, as if they were used to this kind of thing. In Ning Yuling's impression, only couples would do this. Even the best friends of the opposite sex should not do this. Couples. If it was just one person, it would be fine, but all three of them were like this. Could it be that they were all Su Weifeng's girlfriends? Oh my god. It seemed that only this explanation fit the current situation, but how could the three of them get along so harmoniously, and even so closely? Shouldn't they be hostile to each other? Ning Yuling now knew that Su Weifeng was very powerful, otherwise he would not have directly let Mingyang Film and Television transfer the investment power to him. If these were three gold diggers with only pretty faces and no real ability, it would be understandable, but Lin Zhuangsun and the others were not bad either. One of them was a CEO, and the other two were screenwriters. They were still so young and beautiful, so there was definitely no shortage of excellent men chasing them. If they wanted to fall in love, they could just choose any good man. But they actually followed Su Weifeng like this, which was really incredible. Ning Yuling was full of questions, but she couldn't ask him about it in person. I'm going to the bathroom. After eating for a while, Lin Zhuangxuan stood up. I'm going too. Sun Yumeng and Zhao Ziaoshu said in unison. I'll go. They're going to the bathroom together. The relationship between these three people is really good. Ning Yuling complained in her heart again. After they left, Ning Yuling could no longer suppress her curiosity. She lowered her voice and said like a thief, "Uncle, which of these three is your girlfriend? What do you think?" Su Zifeng asked with a smile. "This. I feel like all three of them are like this. Don't tell me I'm right." Su Weifeng laughed, neither admitting nor denying. Ning Yuling already knew the answer. Her mouth twitched violently twice, and she said, "Uncle, you are too awesome. You are playing 3 games at once, and you can make them get along so well." Su Weifeng was both proud and a little embarrassed, and said, "There are some special reasons between us." Ning Yuling stuck out her tongue, gave Su Wei a thumbs up, and said, "No matter what the reason is, you are awesome enough. This is enough to make up a magic table." Su Weifeng laughed out loud, and couldn't help muttering in his heart that now it's not just a magic table. Even if it's 2 tables, it's almost enough to make up a game of landlord. Lin Zhuangxuan and the others came back soon, and the topic quickly turned to Qiao Ming and the current situation on the internet. Qiao Ming naturally couldn't just sit there and wait for death, so he immediately started hiring internet users to clean up the situation, and also contacted major internet companies to block these unfavorable remarks. But no matter how much money they spend, those internet companies can't delete all the posts, and there are more and more of them. The most important thing is that more and more real evidence has been released, which has increasingly proved that these are not fake. At the beginning, Qiao Ming's fan group was still defending Qiao Ming and going against the majority of netizens, but soon, the voices supporting Qiao Ming became fewer and fewer, and more people scolded Qiao Ming. It is obvious that many fans have turned to black. Then several companies endorsed by Qiao Ming issued statements to cancel Qiao Ming's endorsement contracts. For traffic stars like Qiao Ming, every company that signed a contract with him has such a clause that if Qiao Ming's image is damaged, the contract will be terminated without compensation, and some companies will even ask Qiao Ming to compensate. Qiao Ming used to be too confident and thought that his image would not be damaged. In order to sign a bigger contract, many contracts actually added this clause. The consequence of this is not only that Qiao Ming's image will be ruined from now on, but even the money he earned before will probably be almost lost. Looking at this, Ning Yuling's mouth twitched. Yesterday, Qiao Ming was still a big star, with countless fans, and was able to attend the star-studded award ceremony. But today, he has been despised by thousands of people, and has become a lost dog. And all this was just because Qiao Ming slapped her in the face. This was simply a tragedy caused by a slap in the face. Ning Yuling suddenly felt that a big star was not as important as a little girl like her. To be honest, she and Su Weifeng had only met 3 or 4 times. The two of them were not so close. Was she really that important? Why did Su Weifeng help her so much? Especially when Zhao Ziaoshu was joking with her at the beginning. The words she said seemed to be a joke at the time, but now thinking about it, how could there be any intention to match her with Su Weifeng? Looking at Su Weifeng, the look in her eyes was a little complicated. The meal was almost finished, and everyone stopped eating. Ning Yuling suddenly felt a little nervous at this time. Su Weifeng said, "Yuling, we are leaving now. I think no one in this crew will bother you anymore. But if you have any troubles in the future, you can call me." "Okay, thank you, uncle." Ning Yuling felt that she could not talk to Su Weifeng as calmly as before. Zhao Ziaoshu chuckled and said, "Any trouble is fine. Your uncle will come to help you on a colorful cloud." Ning Yuling was embarrassed and even a little yearning. Not to mention the past. Today, the uncle seemed to be the hero who came to rescue her on a colorful cloud. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 715, External Comments. In the VIP lounge at the airport, Zhao Ziaoshu smiled and said, "Brother Su, you just spent so much money there and didn't bring anyone back. It's a bit of a loss." Su Weifeng knocked Zhao Xiaoshu on the head and said, "What are you talking about? Which of you was bought by me with money?" Zhao Xiaoshu laughed and said, "Yes, you paid me hundreds of thousands of dollars for the manuscript. Otherwise, why would I follow you?" Sun Yumeng also said, "Yes, you paid me too. I have spent millions of dollars in total." Lin Zhuangxuan laughed and said, "Now that you said that, I was also paid. I paid a company." Su Weifeng made the three people laugh and said, "What you said seems to be true. It seems that money can really make the devil work. Such a beautiful woman was paid back by me." Su Weifeng and his friends came early. When they arrived here, there were not many people in the VIP lounge. Now many people have come in. Those who can enter the VIP lounge are usually people with some strength. And this time, the award ceremony just took place, and there are still many stars here. Compared with the pursuit of stars by ordinary people, even if they are not stars, they are obviously not so enthusiastic about them. At most, they will take a few more glances, and then do their own things. They are all in the same circle, and at the award ceremony, everyone has seen each other. When the stars or people from the film and television companies come in later, Lin Zhuangxuan will signal or nod to them, which is also basic courtesy. The other party will often respond in return. After all, everyone is a person of status, especially in such a public occasion, and they will be more polite and will not lose their manners. But after the basic greetings, everyone chats with familiar people and waits for the flight. I really didn't expect that Qiao Ming attended the award ceremony yesterday, but today he was exposed. Well, I've also read the news. This time Qiao Ming must have been beaten to death. There will be no chance for him to turn over. No way. Qiao Ming is very popular. There must be some people protecting him. Protect? How? Now it has come to this point. Even if you want to protect him, you can't. The people behind were discussing Qiao Ming's affairs. The popularity of this matter has even overshadowed yesterday's award ceremony. After all, for these people, who won the award, and who won what award, they had known it for several days. As for Qiao Ming's affairs, it was only revealed this morning. This was unexpected and more topical. Su Weifeng and the other four looked at each other silently. No one spoke. At this time, they all wanted to hear what others said. There is obviously a mastermind behind this matter. Someone wants to deal with Qiao Ming. Yes, this information has been prepared for a long time, before it was exposed all at once. It is simply deliberate and fatal. I really don't know who has such a big grudge against Qiao Ming. Wasn't it exposed by those women he provoked before? How is that possible? This was not exposed by one woman at all. Statistics have been made now. There are a total of 8 women involved. These 8 people have been involved with Qiao Ming at the same time. Even if they want to retaliate, how could they concentrate on one time? Besides, after Qiao Ming became famous, I don't believe he can avoid dealing with all these black spots. You're right. Today's traffic stars will definitely deal with their previous black spots. This is their lifeblood. That's very strange. I haven't heard that Qiao Ming has offended anyone. This kid is still very good at dealing with people outside and is always polite to everyone. Why be polite? This guy's arrogant at heart. He dare not offend people like us, but he always orders his subordinates around. I've seen him scolding his assistant. That's nothing. The assistants certainly don't have such means. I think he must have offended some big shot, so he can reveal so many things at once. He just wants to kill him in one go. His method is cruel enough. So I can't understand what's the benefit of killing Qiao Ming, or Qiao Ming must have offended someone so badly. At this time, Lin Zhuangxuan pinched Su Weifeng's arm lightly and said softly, "No one would have thought that Qiao Ming was so miserable just because of a little girl." Zhao Xiaoshu lay on the table. His little face came over and said, "Is this a age for beauty?" Su Weifeng shook his head lightly. To say that he was venting his anger for Ning Yuling, it was not that intense. He had too many ways to vent his anger. But Su Weifeng had been in the film and television industry for some time, and he was obviously very disgusted with this kind of traffic, so he thought of beating him to death with one stick. At this time, Ning Yuling had already returned to the crew. Li Zai and Qiu immediately called her over, and there was also a screenwriter with the crew here. Xiaoning, I thought about it again, and I feel that your role is a little too little. You act so well. If it's just a small role, it's really a pity, so I want to increase your role. Is it okay? Ning Yuling could clearly hear that Li Zianqiu's words were full of politeness. If she had heard this before, she would have jumped up excitedly because her efforts were recognized by the director. But knowing that Li Zianqiu let her act more because of Su Weifeng's face, she was a little unhappy. Thank you, director. But this was a great opportunity after all. Ning Yuling was reluctant to leave, and she couldn't let Su Weifeng down, so she agreed gratefully. Haha, that's fine. Screenwriter Liu, I'll trouble you with this. Give Xiaoning more scenes. Especially pay attention to Xiaoning's temperament. I feel that her temperament is the best. Screenwriter Liu didn't plan to come here today. It was Li Zianqiu who called him here, so he didn't know what happened in the crew. At this time, he couldn't help but be dumbfounded. In the crew, the director is like an emperor. He can be polite to big stars, but he always orders ordinary actors around. Now he is so polite to a little actor who has no impression at all, and he even takes the initiative to add scenes. This is really weird. If Li Zianqiu never used his power to take advantage of actresses, the screenwriter would definitely think that Ning Yuling was seduced by Li Zianqiu, and then she had more scenes. Then maybe Ning Yuling really has real acting skills, and the director took a fancy to her. Screenwriter Liu could only think so, but when he thought about changing the script, it was a big headache. It was a finished script, and it was really a ripple effect to change it. This is the most headache for every screenwriter. Chapter 716 Someone Stole Your Girlfriend. After returning to Yangcheng, Dream Company had a rapid development, with various cooperation and film contracts. They started shooting several online movies in a row. Lin Zhuangxuan still didn't want to enter the ranks of real theater movies so quickly. She always felt that her foundation had not been laid. If she entered too early, the success rate of failure would be too high. Lin Zhuangxuan was not afraid of losing money at all. Not to mention losing tens of millions of yuan on a movie. Even if she lost hundreds of millions, she would not take it seriously. Who let Su Weifeng have so much money and nowhere to use it? She was in this industry just to succeed. This was her interest, not for making money. She just wanted to get the joy of success step by step. Su Weifeng also let her do it. However, because there were many online movies to shoot, Lin Zhuangxuan and the others were too busy. Sometimes, except for Liu King and Liu Jia, no one was at home, which made Su Weifeng a little depressed. After all, there was always someone to accompany him every day, and now it was really a bit lonely and hard to sleep. So he simply went to visit the set. It was impossible for others to be busy while he was idle. What's going on? Why haven't the extras you were asked to find arrived yet? As soon as Su Weifeng arrived at the set, he saw Lin Zhuangxuan frowning and talking to the production manager, which reminded him of Ning Yuling's time as a production manager. The production manager said with a bitter face, "Boss Lin, a temporary actor suddenly had diarrhea and couldn't come. Why did he have diarrhea at this time? It's not his fault. Go find someone quickly." The production manager agreed and hurriedly prepared to find someone. Lin Zhuangxuan turned around and saw Su Weifeng, then smiled and said, "No need to find someone. Just let Boss Su make a cameo appearance." Su Weifeng pointed at his nose and said, "No way." Lin Zhuangxuan snorted and said, "Nothing wrong. This is your own company. Do you think the filming progress will be affected?" Production manager, take Boss Su to change clothes immediately. Su Weifeng had no choice but to change his clothes. Wearing a tattered cotton jacket with oil stains, a pair of big cotton shoes, and a little dust on his face, Lin Zhuangxuan actually asked him to play a homeless man. Well, this can be regarded as devoting himself to the entertainment industry. Su Weifeng could only comfort himself in this way. Although Su Weifeng, a temporary actor, did not even have any lines, he had many opportunities to appear on the stage. After shooting for a long time, his play was finally finished. It was already December. Su Weifeng was filming outside. He had to rely on his body temperature to keep warm in this outfit. He was too lazy to change at this time, so he just kept wearing the clothes until it was almost time to finish work. The phone rang. It was Zhao Xiaoshu calling. "What's wrong?" Su Weifeng knew that Zhao Xiaoshu was invited out for dinner by an alumnus. He had just left not long ago and should have just finished the meal. Why did he call at this time? Brother Sue, please come quickly. I'm so worried. Haha, what's wrong? Hearing that there was no panic in Zhao Xiaoshu's voice, Su Weifeng asked with a smile. My schoolmate insisted on introducing me to a boyfriend. I told her I had one, but she said she didn't believe me. Come over here quickly. Su Weifeng smiled and said, okay, I'll go over there quickly. After hanging up the phone, Su Weifeng wanted to change back into his clothes, but he couldn't find them, no matter how hard he looked. He didn't know where the careless stage manager had taken them. At this time, everyone was busy with the last scene, and he couldn't find anyone. Su Weifeng hesitated for a moment and simply went out in this costume. Driving his BMW X7, Su Weifeng came to a restaurant a few kilometers away from the crew. After parking the car and about to walk to the door of the restaurant, a car drove past and someone threw a can out of it, which happened to roll under his feet. Su Weifeng shook his head. This kind of person is really uncultured, but he is not an uncultured person. He picked up the can and prepared to throw it into the trash can in front of him. Here is another one for you. A man and a woman got out of the car and threw another one over. The two men were dressed decently and got out of an Audi A4L. They were both in their 20s. Alas, a grown man picking up cans. This is too pathetic. He doesn't even think about going out to work. Some people are just lazy. Picking up things is at least easier than working. Su Weifeng's face darkened. The two men obviously thought he was a garbage collector, but he was too lazy to explain. He just picked up the can as well. After the two men entered the restaurant, he threw the can into the trash can. In a private room of the restaurant, there were 4 people sitting at this time, 2 men and 2 women. Zhao Xiaoshu was among them. The other woman was her fellow countryman and schoolmate, named He Bingbing. One of the 2 men was He Bingbing's boyfriend Zhao Changhu. He was also from the same school as Zhao Xiaoshu. They all knew each other before, but they graduated a year earlier than Zhao Xiaoshu. They hadn't contacted each other for a few months. This time, the two suddenly contacted Zhao Xiaoshu and said they wanted to have dinner together. Zhao Xiaoshu happened to have nothing to do this afternoon, and the place to eat was not far from the crew, so she agreed. The other one was Zhao Changhu's friend Shan Qingdong. Shan Qingdong was sitting next to Zhao Xiaoshu at this time, with a flattering look on his face, and said, He Bingbing has talked about you several times, always saying how beautiful you are, but I didn't quite believe it. When we met today, I realized that you are really so beautiful. He Bingbing chuckled and said, Shan Qingdong, now you know I didn't lie to you, right? Shan Qingdong immediately said seriously, you lied to me. I lied to you? He Bingbing was a little surprised. Yeah, I thought the beauty you were talking about only scored 80 points, but this one is clearly 100 points. Are you lying to me? He Bingbing chuckled and said, okay, Shan Qingdong, you are good at praising people. Then she turned to Zhao Xiaoshu and said, Xiaoshu, Shan Qingdong is not usually so smooth talking. He is a career man. He just graduated and has already started his own business and established his own company. He has made hundreds of thousands in half a year. Shan Qingdong hurriedly said, it's nothing, nothing. I'm just lucky and made some money. He Bingbing's boyfriend Zhao Changhu shook his head and said, Shan Qingdong, don't be so modest. If I could make as much money as you, I would have been so happy a long time ago. Shan Qingdong waved his hands and said, it doesn't matter whether I make money or not. I'm still a single dog. I'm so envious of you for showing your love in front of me. He Bingbing smiled and said, I'm introducing Xiaoshu to you. Whether it will work depends on your ability. Zhao Xiaoshu said quickly, Bingbing, thank you for your kindness. I really have a boyfriend. He Bingbing said angrily, don't lie to me. If you really have a boyfriend, then ask him to come over and see you. Chapter 717 Homeless Boyfriend. Xiaoshu, don't I know my situation? Both of your parents died, and you are stubborn. You just want to live by your own ability. I admire you very much, but you were in school at that time. You will graduate in a little over a year, and will soon enter the society. This is completely different. If no one takes care of you, it will be too difficult for you as a girl. He Bingbing shook her head as she spoke, and said, I used to have the same idea as you. I have been working for less than half a year, and the bitterness I encountered is really indescribable. The leader bullies, and colleagues exclude me. If I really can't bear it alone, I'm fortunate to have Changhu, a man I can rely on, so I can stand it. Holding Xiao Changhu's hand, He Bingbing's face showed an intoxicated and satisfied smile. Zhao Xiaoshu said, I know your good intentions, but I have called my boyfriend. He will be here soon. You will know when you see him. Do you really have a boyfriend? What does your boyfriend do? Seeing Zhao Xiaoshu's affirmation, He Bingbing couldn't help but believe it at this time. Zhao Xiaoshu has seen a lot of the world during this period and has passed the stage of wanting to show off her boyfriend, so she smiled and said, he didn't do anything. You'll know when you see him. However, He Bingbing misunderstood and thought that Zhao Xiaoshu's boyfriend was not in good condition. Now she is embarrassed to say it and said, a woman doesn't have to be so hasty in choosing a boyfriend. She always has to look at the conditions and the appearance. You are so beautiful. If your boyfriend has no conditions, it would be a loss. Zhao Xiaoshu smiled faintly and said, my boyfriend is not bad. At this time, there was a knock on the door, and then a man and a woman walked in. They were the two who had thrown cans to Su Weifeng downstairs just now. They were also Zhao Xiaoshu's schoolmates, and were also 1 year older than Zhao Xiaoshu. The woman's name was Zheng Yuping, and the man's name was Wang Fei. As soon as he came in, Zheng Yuping giggled and said, I'm late. I should have arrived a long time ago, but I spent a long time looking for a parking space. I finally found a spot before I got in. He Bingbing was immediately surprised and said, Yuping, you bought a car? Zheng Yuping waved his hand and said casually, I have no choice. For the sake of convenience, it's too uncomfortable to take the bus every day, so I just bought one. What car did you buy? He Bingbing asked. Zheng Yuping shrugged his shoulders and said, we just graduated a few days ago. We saved a little, and our family gave us a little. We barely bought an Audi A4. He Bingbing immediately shouted, oh my god, Audi A4, it's great. Xiao Changhu was also surprised and said, the total cost is more than 300,000 yuan. You bought such a car right after graduation. It's really enviable. Everyone just graduated and didn't make much money at all. Even if they bought a car, their family paid for it, so most people didn't have a car. The few who did have a car were generally cars below 100,000 yuan. Cars above 100,000 yuan were rare. Like Audi A4, it basically belongs to the category of luxury cars. Zhao Xiaoshu felt a little funny when she heard it. Zheng Yuping came in and said that because he was late for the parking space, he just wanted to show off that he bought a good car. Zhao Xiaoshu didn't have any special research on cars, but it seemed that cars worth more than 300,000 yuan were all used by the company, and cars used at home seemed to be almost a million yuan. So she really didn't feel anything now. Shine King Dong laughed and said, not bad, not bad. The Audi A4 is really good. I've been studying to buy a new car recently, so I've studied a lot about cars. Zheng Yuping and Wang Fei didn't know Shine King Dong. He Bingbing quickly introduced Shine King Dong and said, King Dong is Chang Hui's good friend. He is now the boss of a company. He is very powerful. That's really a promising young man. King Dong, have you decided what car to buy now? As for me, I'm still planning to buy a BMW 5 Series. After Shine King Dong finished speaking, he glanced at Zhao Xiaoshu, but found that Zhao Xiaoshu's expression was still calm, as if he didn't take it seriously at all. He Bingbing immediately cried out in surprise, grabbed Zhao Xiaoshu's arm and shook it vigorously, saying, wow, Xiaoshu, did you hear that? King Dong is going to buy a BMW 5 Series. That's so cool. It would be so wonderful to sit in it. Wang Fei and Zheng Yuping also showed envy in their eyes. Zheng Yuping said, you are really amazing. You went straight for the 5 Series. He Bingbing said sourly, you guys are enough. Changhu and I don't even dare to think about buying a car now. Zheng Yuping felt much more comfortable when he heard what He Bingbing said. He looked at Zhao Xiaoshu and said, Xiaoshu, what about you? Oh yes, I remember, you haven't graduated from college yet. He Bingbing chuckled and said, Xiaoshu doesn't have to think about these. King Dong bought it, and she is only responsible for sitting in it. Zheng Yuping was stunned for a moment, then laughed and said, I see, Xiaoshu, you are really enviable. Xiaoshu was speechless. How could he Bingbing and Zheng Yuping be willing to act as matchmakers? Fortunately, the knock on the door sounded again at this time. Xiaoshu's eyes lit up and said, my boyfriend is here. Everyone immediately looked at the door and then saw a man pushing the door in. Zheng Yuping frowned and said, what's wrong with this hotel? Even the garbage collectors are allowed in. Go away. If you want to collect garbage, you have to go outside to collect it. The man who came in was naturally Su Weifeng. At this time, he laughed and said, no, I'm here to find my girlfriend. Girlfriend? Everyone was stunned for a moment, and then they all looked at Xiaoshu. Xiaoshu was also dumbfounded at this time. What's going on? Why did Su Weifeng come here wearing this? This seems to be the clothes in the crew. This is originally prepared for a homeless person. No wonder people thought he was a garbage collector. She couldn't understand why Su Weifeng was like this, and seeing Su Weifeng's embarrassed look, Xiaoshu burst out laughing and said, why are you? Su Weifeng coughed lightly and said, my own clothes. He Bingbing interrupted Su Weifeng directly, widened her eyes, and shouted, Xiaoshu, don't tell me that this is your boyfriend? Xiaoshu couldn't help laughing and said, yes, it's my boyfriend Su Weifeng. Weifeng, these are my college alumni. This is Zheng Yuping and his boyfriend Wang Fei. Su Weifeng immediately smiled and stretched out his hand, saying, hello. Wang Fei and Zheng Yuping both frowned, and when they thought of Su Weifeng's hand picking up garbage just now, they didn't stretch out their hands out of disgust. Su Weifeng smiled and didn't mind. When Xiaoshu introduced others, Su Weifeng didn't shake hands with them. After the introduction, Xiaoshu waved his hand and said, Weifeng, come and sit here. Seeing Su Weifeng sitting next to Xiaoshu, everyone frowned. Chapter 718 Okay, I'm just pretending. Everyone looked at Su Weifeng and Xiaoshu, not knowing what to say for a moment. Xiaoshu, you. Zheng Yuping frowned, wanting to say something but stopping. Xiaoshu smiled and said, it's okay, just say it, if you want to. Zheng Yuping said, you asked me to say this, so I won't be polite. Xiaoshu, I know you never like to find a rich second generation, so it's okay to find a normal, ordinary boyfriend, but why did you find a homeless man who picks up garbage? A homeless man who picks up garbage? Xiaoshu chuckled and said, really? He Bingbing immediately asked curiously, how do you know he is a swimmer who picks up garbage? I thought he was a migrant worker. Zheng Yuping rolled his eyes and said, just now, Wang Fei and I got off the car and saw him picking up cans. We were kind enough to give him the cans we were going to throw in the trash can, but who knew that he was actually Xiaoshu's boyfriend? He Bingbing frowned and said, Xiaoshu, I'm not saying anything bad about you, but you've really fallen into depravity. Your looks and education are wasted. You can find anyone you want. How can you find someone like this? Look at King Dong. He's good looking and successful in his career. I'm going to buy you a BMW 5 Series. Su Weifeng looked at Xiaoshu, curled his lips, and said sourly, oh, you're going to have a BMW. Xiaoshu chuckled and said, yeah, look at you. How many cans do you have to pick up to buy me a BMW? Su Weifeng said seriously, one can costs 10 cents. Picking up 10,000 cans will make 1,000 yuan. Picking up 10 million can make 1 million yuan. Don't worry, I will definitely find it. Puchy. Xiaoshu was about to cry with laughter. He hit Su Weifeng lightly and said angrily, are you trying to make me die of laughter? Xiaoshu and Su Weifeng were just joking around. After seeing how Su Weifeng acted in front of outsiders, it was a rare experience for Xiaoshu to see him in such a state. So Xiaoshu felt it was very interesting and fun. She was also a girl who loved to play around, so she naturally would not let it go. As for what her classmates thought, she didn't care. Several people looked at each other in bewilderment. Xiaoshu was so happy. He Bingbing suddenly understood something. She pushed Xiaoshu. When Xiaoshu turned around, she said unhappily, Xiaoshu, you are going too far. Too far? How did I go too far? Xiaoshu was a little confused. He Bingbing said dissatisfiedly, humph, I'm kind enough to introduce you to a boyfriend. If you don't agree, that's fine. But you actually pulled such a vagrant who picks up garbage to pretend to be your boyfriend. Is that interesting? Pretending? Zhao Xiaoshu pointed at Su Weifeng and said, do you think I found him to pretend? He Bingbing said with a straight face, yes, it's obvious. With your conditions, even if you find someone too bad, he won't be a vagrant who picks up garbage. Xiaoshu, do you think we are all fools? Zhao Chang, who clapped his hands and said with a look of sudden enlightenment, I was thinking, how can a beautiful girl like Xiaoshu be stuck in such a pool of cow dung? Zheng Yuping also said dissatisfiedly, Xiaoshu, you are really not good. Bingbing is kind-hearted, but you are taking her kindness as a lie. Zhao Xiaoshu and Su Weifeng looked at each other. Have these people read too many novels? Such a plot can also be thought of. But on second thought, this seems normal. Su Weifeng pretended to be Qiao Yushan's boyfriend, and Lin Zhuangxuan pretended to be Qiao Yushan to be Su Weifeng's girlfriend. There are many such things in the family. Now it seems to be retribution. Su Weifeng blinked at Zhao Xiaoshu and said, Xiaoshu, why don't they believe it? What do you think we should do? How about we kiss to prove it like in the novel? Zhao Xiaoshu laughed again. This big brother Su is quite interesting when he makes trouble. But before she could express her opinion, he Bingbing glared at her and said, that's enough. We've all seen it. Why are you still pretending? Get out quickly and don't disturb us while we are eating. Zheng Yuping also said, yes, here, it won't disturb our mood for eating. Zhao Xiaoshu tried to hold back his laughter and felt his stomach aching. He quickly said, forget it, forget it. We're already here. How can you not let them eat? That's too rude. Su Weifeng had a very depressed expression and said, it's not that I don't cooperate with you. You can't not give me the money you promised to give me. Here, don't worry. Zhao Xiaoshu patted Su Weifeng's shoulder and almost couldn't help but burst out laughing while leaning on Su Weifeng's shoulder. He Bingbing snorted and said, then you can eat here, but you just eat honestly and don't disturb us. If there are any leftovers, we will pack them up for you to take away. Su Weifeng hurriedly said gratefully, this elder sister is really a good person. Thank you, thank you. Shan Qingdong's depressed mood was swept away at this time, and he became energetic. He straightened his chest and said, Xiaoshu, from the way you refused, I know that you are a pure girl, not a girl who loves money. I like pure girls the most. Don't worry, I won't force you to express any attitude. Let's just treat it as acquaintance today. Give me a chance to get along with each other, and I will use my sincerity to impress you in the future. He Bingbing laughed immediately after hearing this and said, that's right, I'm familiar with you both, and I know you are suitable, so I introduced you. He Bingbing, can't be wrong. Zhao Xiaoshu took a sip of water and calmed down. This way, he would not be able to help laughing all the time. He said, it's still okay for me to meet a friend, but I'm not in a hurry to fall in love. Shan Qingdong said quickly, let's make friends first. If you have any problems or troubles in the future, just come to me. Shan Qingdong, have a good network of contacts and know many people. I can handle general problems without any problems. Then I would like to thank Brother Shan. Zhao Xiaoshu said, while kicking Su Weifeng. At this time, the waiter brought the menu. Shan Qingdong gestured to hand the menu to Zhao Xiaoshu and said, Xiaoshu, just order whatever you want to eat. Don't be polite to me. He Bingbing came over to look at the menu together and said, yes, there is no need to save money for him. This guy's going to buy a BMW 5 Series. He is a rich man. We have to eat his. Shan Qingdong laughed and said, yes, just order. If you are polite to me, I will not be happy. Zhao Xiaoshu and He Bingbing ordered food together, and He Bingbing basically helped her make suggestions. After everyone took turns ordering, it was not until Su Weifeng's place that he was given the opportunity to order food. Chapter 719 Yi Gong likes dragons. Soon the food and wine came up. After drinking a glass of wine, Shan Qingdong said, come on, eat, don't be polite. Everyone picked up their chopsticks, and then Su Weifeng stretched out his chopsticks to pick up the food. He Bingbing immediately turned the table, leaving Su Weifeng with an empty chopstick. Then she frowned at Su Weifeng and said, you know what's good for you. It's good enough that you can eat at the table. Why do you pick up the food yourself? How can others eat the food you have picked up? Su Weifeng raised his chopsticks and said with an awkward face, then how can I eat? He Bing said, waiter, take a plate and give him some of each dish. Oh, and give him a bowl of rice so that he can finish his meal and leave the table early. Zhao Xiaoshu frowned slightly. This was not just a joke, it was really disrespectful. But Su Weifeng gently pulled her under the table and then said with a pitiful look, that's fine, but one bowl of rice is not enough, can we have 2 bowls? He Bing said impatiently, 2 bowls is 2 bowls, you can eat enough. Zhao Xiaoshu rolled her eyes at Su Weifeng and said no more. Su Weifeng wanted to play, so she was fine. The waiter really brought a plate to Su Weifeng and then took a little from each dish. He Bing said, come on, let's eat well now, Xiaoshu, don't do this next time, it really ruins the atmosphere. Zhao Xiaoshu shrugged and said, okay, I won't do it next time. The atmosphere of eating and drinking was also quite good. After all, they were alumni who hadn't seen each other for a long time. They had taken some care of Zhao Xiaoshu in school before. Zhao Xiaoshu was still very grateful to them, so even if they said a few words to her, she didn't get angry. Su Weifeng also saw that these people were not that sarcastic and had no ill will towards Zhao Xiaoshu. Introducing a boyfriend was a normal introduction, so he was relieved to let people misunderstand him and did not explain. After drinking some wine, Wang Fei said, by the way, Shan King Dong, how did you run your business? It has only been a short time since you did so well. Can you share some experience with us so that we can also make money? Shan King Dong laughed and said, when it comes to making money, in addition to being capable and hardworking, opportunities are also very important. When I started this company, it was also very difficult, and it was also very difficult to get customers, but the opportunity came 3 months ago. What opportunity? Zheng Yuping immediately asked curiously. Shan King Dong said, in the past, the client I wanted to serve the most was Jinping Company, but that company was full of old customers with connections, and I couldn't get in. But 3 months ago, Jinping Company suddenly changed drastically, and the management staff inside changed drastically. The old customers with connections in those companies were no longer needed. Instead, they held an open and fair bidding. My product happened to be the latest technology, and the price was right, so I got into Jinping Company right away, and that's how I made money. Wang Fei was also knowledgeable, and immediately asked, this is too lucky, but for such a big company to suddenly change, there must have been some big thing, right? Shan King Dong said, yes, I found out afterwards, and it turned out that there was a big change in the shareholders of Jinping Company, and the largest shareholder became the Shu family. Oh, you may not understand what I said, so let me explain it to you again. The Shu family is a large family consortium. Many of our industries here belong to these large family consortiums, and the Shu family is the largest consortium in our Yangcheng. The Shu family has assets of hundreds of billions. After becoming the largest shareholder of Jinping Company, they gave me such a great opportunity all of a sudden. I'm grateful to the Shu family from the bottom of my heart now. Wang Fei said, assets of hundreds of billions. Yes, I just said it casually. Their real strength is probably more than this. The most important thing is that their large conglomerate has all kinds of connections and is much more powerful than ordinary rich people. By the way, do you know who the most powerful person in the Shu family is? Who? Several people asked in unison. They had no way to learn about things of this level, so they were particularly curious. She is a girl in her 20s, about the same age as us, and very beautiful. He Bing screamed, what? A consortium worth tens of billions is actually called by a girl in her 20s? Oh my god, I suddenly feel like I have lived in vain. Zheng Yuping said enviously, yeah, let alone hundreds of billions. If I could have a few million to call on, I would be overjoyed. Wang Fei said enviously, if anyone marries her, he will be rich. Zhao Cheng who also said in deep agreement, yes, I really don't know which man is so lucky. Shan King Dong said, it seems that she already has a boyfriend, but her boyfriend is very mysterious. It is said that her boyfriend is stronger than the Shu family. The Shu family can have such strength thanks to her boyfriend. Oh my god. There is such a powerful man. He Bing Bing clasped her hands together, and countless little stars suddenly appeared in her eyes. Zheng Yuping immediately said anxiously, "Do you have a photo of this man? We want to see it." Shan King Dong said, "I don't have a photo. There are no photos on the internet now. Otherwise, how can you say this person is mysterious? But I heard that Xu Lingling's boyfriend is not only handsome, but also very stylish. Even a set of clothes must be custom made by the world's top clothing masters." Su Weifeng, who had been silent, suddenly said, "That's not necessarily the case. Maybe he dresses like this." PFFT. Zhao Xiaoshu couldn't help laughing, and said, "That makes sense. I feel that he may be a homeless person like you. Xu Lingling also has special tastes." Zhao Xiaoshu directly said Xu Lingling's name, but everyone ignored it. They all sneered at Su Weifeng's words. He Bing Bing even said, "What nonsense are you talking about? How could such a big shot dress like you? You can't even take a joke." Zheng Yuping even said, "Even if he dresses like you, he must be so handsome." Haha. Zhao Xiaoshu couldn't help laughing again. These people are really Yi Gong's love of dragons. The man you envy is right in front of you, but you look down on him and envy the imaginary man instead. Su Weifeng couldn't help laughing, but he held back, revealing a very pitiful look. Wang Fei shook his head and said, "People should always have some self-knowledge. People like you should just pick up your garbage. When others are talking, don't say too much." Su Weifeng also nodded and said, "You guys chat, you guys chat." Chapter 720 We have a car. Xiaoshu, meeting you today is the greatest luck of my life. From the moment I saw you, I knew I was in love. I will definitely let you live the best life, and make you happy. Let's have a drink." Shan King Dong looked at Zhao Xiaoshu affectionately, stood up and raised his glass. He was very satisfied with Zhao Xiaoshu. It was love at first sight. Of course, it was her face that caught his eye. Wow, this is a confession to Xiaoshu. "Xiaoshu, please agree to him." He Bing Bing shouted excitedly, as if she was the person involved. "Promise him, promise him, promise him." Zhao Xiaoshu's face was full of embarrassment. She looked at Su Weifeng and glared at him fiercely. She didn't expect this to happen. How could they confess their love at a dinner party? It was all because of that bad guy. Normally, there wouldn't be so many things. Su Weifeng watched the fun with a sly smile and didn't mean to help at all. Zhao Xiaoshu gritted her teeth, but there was no way but to explain. "He is really my boyfriend. He played a cameo role in the crew today. He came here directly after receiving my call without changing back into his own clothes. Make it up. Keep making it up." He Bing Bing didn't believe it at all. Not only her, but no one else, except Su Weifeng believed it. "Xiaoshu, you are really disrespectful." Shan King Dong put down the cup and was also very dissatisfied. His conditions were definitely among the best among his peers. He was the one who rejected others, so how could he be rejected? Now everyone thought that Zhao Xiaoshu was still making excuses, and the excuses were so fake that they couldn't be any faker. Ahem. Su Weifeng knew that Zhao Xiaoshu would really get angry if he continued to play now, so he spoke up quickly. "I was just joking with you guys. I'm really her boyfriend. I played the role of a homeless man in the crew today. I was in a hurry to come out, so I came out without changing my clothes." "Are you really her boyfriend? Are you a minor actor in the crew? But this temperament and this outfit are too suitable." Zhao Changhu said suspiciously. Seeing that Zhao Xiaoshu and Su Weifeng were talking so seriously, he really believed it. "Brother, you really believe it? He is a homeless man. He just picked up the bottles we threw." Wang Fei said with a sneer. "Maybe he is too immersed in the role and hasn't come out yet. Just look at his manners. He is the future movie emperor." Guan Xiangping also said. Su Weifeng smiled bitterly. He was really depressed. No one believed him when he told the truth. Everyone had almost finished eating. Now it was cold because of Zhao Xiaoshu and Shan King Dong. Everyone was very unhappy. The meal ended hastily. When it was time to pay the bill, several men were vying to pay. Su Weifeng also hurriedly offered to pay the bill, but he was ignored by several people. The embarrassing thing was that even the waiter ignored him, which made Zhao Xiaoshu twist his waist several times when there was no one around. She was really upset today. "I'll take everyone home. The 5 of us fit in one car." Wang Fei raised his Audi car key, feeling very proud, and walked towards his Audi A4. "Thank you then," he Bing Bing said happily. "It's better to have someone take you home than to take a taxi. You guys can come together. I'll go with my boyfriend, and he's driving too." Zhao Xiaoxu said. "Oh, your boyfriend is driving here too? Hurry up and drive it out to sea," Shan Qingdong said. He thought Zhao Xiaoxu was still pretending, and it was obvious that he was not giving him face. "I want to see what kind of car he can drive out. It won't be a garbage truck, right? Haha." He Bing Bing said sarcastically. She was also very dissatisfied with Zhao Xiaoxu today. Su Weifeng walked towards his car. He Bing Bing and others stared at him intently, secretly laughing at what kind of car he could drive. Soon Su Weifeng walked to the side of his BMW X7, the lights flashed, and then Su Weifeng opened the door and got in. He Bing Bing and Shan Qingdong stared blankly, and He Bing Bing opened her mouth wide, and couldn't say anything. It took a long time for her to recover. BMW X7, more than 1.6 million, Shan Qingdong said with a trembling voice. He also planned to buy a car now. He knew about the ones that he could afford, and the ones that he couldn't afford. Of course, he had seen this BMW X7, but he could only fantasize about it. As for the BMW 5 Series he wanted to buy, it was already beyond his budget. What kind of background did Zhao Xiaoxu's boyfriend have? "Xiaoxu, is your boyfriend an actor? Actors make a lot of money now," He Bing Bing said sourly, thinking that she was doing well and always had the last word in front of this old classmate, but suddenly she felt that she and Zhao Xiaoxu were completely incomparable. "Oh, him, he's not an actor, he runs a film and television company. There aren't enough extras today, so he played a homeless man." "I just said it, but you didn't believe it," Zhao Xiaoxu said proudly, finally breathing a sigh of relief, feeling that all the boredom in her heart had been released. "What film and television company does your boyfriend work for?" "I know a few film and television companies in Yangcheng." Shan Qingdong's face darkened, but he still asked. "Dream Film and Television," Zhao Xiaoxu said proudly. She is also the screenwriter of Dream Film and Television. Now the company is developing better and better, and her reputation in the film and television industry is getting bigger and bigger. Her sense of belonging and collective honor is still very strong. Dream Film and Television, Shan Qingdong repeated stutteringly. Until he sat in Wang Fei's Audi A4, Shan Qingdong was still in a daze, and there was still a little fear. He Bing Bing and others were discussing Zhao Xiaoxu and her boyfriend, and the BMW X7. As for what kind of film and television company, they didn't care. There are many companies now, and Shan Qingdong in the car is also a company boss. "Qingdong, what's wrong? Are you shocked?" Zhao Changhu joked when he saw Shan Qingdong's look. "It's not a big deal. We'll introduce you to a girl someday. Xiaoxu's boyfriend might be a rich second generation. Those who are born with a silver spoon in their mouths are just better off than us. What ability do they have? Isn't it just relying on their fathers? I really look down on them." He Bing Bing comforted him, but at the same time she was very indignant. Why did Zhao Xiaoxu meet such a rich and wealthy son-in-law? She is no worse than her. "I'm not shocked. I just know about this Dream Film and Television company." Shan Qingdong also recovered a little at this time. Seeing that he was speaking so seriously, He Bing Bing and others did not interrupt him, and waited for his next words. "I once heard a big boss in Yangcheng say that there is a company in Yangcheng that cannot be offended no matter what, and that is Dream Film and Television. I have a deep impression of this name. Now the boss of Dream Film and Television is behind all the major families in Yangcheng. He is definitely a big shot that we cannot imagine. If you offend him, the consequences will be as follows." That's what the big boss said at the time. "Then what about Zhao Xiaoxu's boyfriend?" Wang Fei hesitated, feeling a little cold on his back. The car suddenly became quiet, and several people now thought of a problem. Just now, everyone mocked this big shot more than once or twice during the meal, especially Shan Qingdong who wanted to steal his girlfriend, and they all felt cold for a while. Chapter 721 University. At this moment, in the villa, Lin Zuangsun, Sun Yumeng and 4 women were playing mahjong. Liu Jia and Liu King didn't dare to sit at the table, but were dragged over by Lin Zuangsun. Hahaha, you will have a new skill when you have no money in the future. You must be quick to pick up bottles. The competition among homeless people is also very fierce now. Ha, my cards. Lin Zhuangxuan had already laughed and fell on the mahjong table, knocking down a large area of her cards. You didn't see the scene at that time. Brother Feng's temperament and clothes were a perfect match. That aura. Later he stopped playing and no one listened to his explanation. Zhao Xiaoshu continued to talk vividly. It's no wonder that he is a screenwriter. His story is more exciting than the live version. Brother Feng is so talented. He is so good at everything he does. Hahaha. Zhao Xiaoshu laughed and grabbed Su Weifeng, who wanted to run. Su Weifeng wanted to find a crack in the ground to crawl into. It was really embarrassing today. His face was a little red because of the laughter of several women. Don't laugh at Brother Feng. Is this a special case? Sun Yumeng wanted to help Su Weifeng out, but she couldn't help but covered her mouth and laughed secretly. Her eyes became crescents, which made her look even cuter. Liu King and Liu Jia's faces were flushed. They were holding it back. They wanted to laugh, but didn't dare to laugh, which was really uncomfortable. Laugh, just laugh. Su Weifeng had given up resisting. Ha, several women laughed together, very happy, except for Su Weifeng, whose laughter was uglier than crying. Dinner was also spent in laughter and joy. After dinner, Su Weifeng returned to the bedroom early. He finally escaped. Now Su Weifeng's face is still feverish. This woman is really a scary animal. Lin Zhuangxuan also came back after a while. Usually when Qiao Yushan was not at home, Lin Zhuangxuan and Su Weifeng would share a room. During the day, she would leave some space for Zhao Xiaoshu and Sun Yumeng. Although she shared Su Weifeng, it was also a last resort, but she still wanted to occupy more space in her heart. Hahaha, I'm dying of laughter, homeless man. When Lin Zhuangxuan saw Su Weifeng, she couldn't help but recall the scene in her mind. Laugh, laugh, I'll make you laugh enough. Seeing that Lin Zhuangxuan was still laughing, Su Weifeng threw her down on the bed and began to tickle her. Lin Zhuangxuan struggled and giggled non-stop. Haha, surrender. Haha, surrender. Big, spare my life. Haha, Lin Zhuangxuan couldn't breathe from laughing. While playing, Su Weifeng suddenly stopped moving, his hands still tickling Lin Zhuangxuan. His eyes lost focus, and he entered that magical state again. Lin Zhuangxuan noticed Su Weifeng's state and dared not move, for fear of disturbing Su Weifeng's recovery. She knew that Su Weifeng's feelings for her had deepened, and she was very satisfied. She gently drilled into Su Weifeng's arms, slowly closed her eyes, and the corners of her mouth unconsciously rose. It would be nice if time stopped at this moment. An hour later, Su Weifeng woke up from that state, looking at Lin Zhuangxuan, who was sleeping soundly beside him with a happy smile on her face. Su Weifeng did not dare to wake her up. He gently helped her change into pajamas, covered her with a quilt, and gently hugged her. Recently, Lin Zhuangxuan was too tired. She was busy shooting videos on the set every day, leaving early and returning late every day. Su Weifeng looked at the woman in his arms distressedly and kissed Lin Zhuangxuan on the forehead gently. The time to leave is getting closer and closer. Now the relationship with Lin Zhuangxuan and others is getting deeper and deeper. Is this decision really right? Will they have their own new life after I leave? Looking at Lin Zhuangxuan, who was sleeping soundly, Su Weifeng felt bitter in his heart. A new day began. Su Weifeng woke up in a dream and dreamed of a koala hanging on his body. He opened his eyes and saw that there was indeed one hanging on his body. Lin Zhuangxuan was still sleeping soundly at this time, with a smile on her lips. I don't know what kind of beautiful dream she was having. At noon, Su Weifeng, the idler, and Liu King and Liu Jia were left at home. Su Weifeng was bored watching TV. Liu King and Liu Jia did not dare to seduce Su Weifeng as they did at the beginning. They knew that there was a mistress in the house, so they did not dare to be too casual. Now they just cook and clean every day. Life is so comfortable. No matter whether it is Su Weifeng or the mistresses, no one regards them as servants. Recently, under the strict requirements of Lin Zhuangxuan and Su Weifeng, they also started to eat at the table. Although they are not used to it, they can play mahjong together when there is a shortage of people. This is simply unimaginable in their minds. This is much happier than the sisters who grew up with them. Brother Feng, have you been to college? What is college like? Liu King suddenly asked. She has also discovered these days that her master is really easy to get along with. She has become bolder. Recently, she has been watching the college and TV dramas online and is very curious. College? I haven't been there either. I didn't like studying, so I joined the army, Su Weifeng said with some regret. After being in contact with Sun Yumeng and Zhao Xiaoshu for a long time, he also had some yearning for college. But if he were to choose again, he would still make the same choice, to become the strongest sword of the country and fight to the death. Why? Do you want to go to school? Su Weifeng asked with a smile. It is really a good idea to let these two girls go to school. They are under the age of 20, and it is just right to go to school. In this way, he does not have to worry about how to arrange for these two girls. After finishing college, they will have their own ideas. We don't want to. Liu King and Liu Jia said in unison. Both of them were a little panicked. They were trained and brainwashed as maids since they were young, so they no longer dared to have their own ideas, let alone ask their masters to do anything. Now I'm the master of the Song family. You are no longer little maids. You are all my friends. You should have your own lives. Isn't it good to go to school? You can learn a lot of knowledge you don't know, meet many friends of the same age, and then you can get to know yourself and the world again. Su Weifeng persuaded the two girls step by step. The two girls looked very yearning, but they still refused to go. They only wanted to be Su Weifeng's little maids, which made Su Weifeng helpless. Let's go. Don't you want to know what college is like? Hearing is false, seeing is true. We won't eat at home at noon. We will take you to the university cafeteria to eat and see what college looks like with your own eyes. Okay. Liu Jia shouted excitedly and found that she seemed to be a little out of control and subconsciously stuck out her tongue. Su Weifeng looked at Liu Jia's subconscious action and sighed in his heart. It's no wonder that she was specially trained by the Song family. Whether it was intentional or unintentional, any man couldn't stand it, and his soul would be hooked away. The three drove to a key university in the city, Xia University. It was lunchtime, and walking on the wide tarmac road, looking at the energetic young people holding books around, and smelling the sweet fragrance of osmanthus trees, my heart could not help but calm down. Liu King and Liu Jia, the two girls, were already immersed in it, and had long been accustomed to the dark side of the family. Coming here was simply another world, a pure land outside of society. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 722 Chatting Up. Looking at the performance of the two girls, Su Weifeng was secretly happy. If the two girls liked this place, his plan would be half successful. When they arrived at the cafeteria, looking at the food stalls one by one, Liu King and Liu Jia looked at Su Weifeng, waiting for him to make a decision. You can order whatever you want to eat. We will choose what we like, and then come back here together. Su Weifeng pointed to the table beside him. The two girls cheered and ran away, excitedly looking at what food was available at each stall. Su Weifeng looked at the girls going away, and felt more and more that they should come to school, slowly take off their masks, and live out their own lives. Su Weifeng turned around a few times. It was not a good thing to have too many choices. For a moment, he really didn't know what to eat. Looking back, Liu Jia and Liu King had already bought food and were sitting at the table waiting for him. It seemed that he had to hurry up, otherwise they would not eat first. Oh, when did our school produce two such beautiful girls? I didn't even know about it. A boy with earrings and hip-hop style clothes suddenly sat opposite Liu King, startling the two girls. He looked at Liu King with shining eyes and said, "Let me introduce myself. My name is Chen Zan. There is nothing that can't be settled in this school. I can arrange for my sister's postgraduate study and internship in the future," the erring boy said, and stretched out his hand to Liu King. Chen Zan is also a family member. The Yang Cheng Chen family, although not a top family, is also a bully in this school. How could he let go of the two school beauties today? Most female students nowadays are realistic. It's easy to get them by giving gifts and promising some benefits. Liu King and Liu Jia have also seen the world. They completely ignored Shenzhen's approach, thinking that if they ignored him, he would walk away. How could Shenzhen leave so easily? That's not the case. Shenzhen is not called Chen Xiao. Sister, do you think I'm a bad guy? I've always cared about my juniors. Recently, a new fruit phone was launched. I was just thinking about going to have a look. Are the beauties interested? I'll give you one each as a gift for you. Shenzhen said generously. This trick never fails. It's normal for girls to take advantage of others. They'll usually be happy, not interested. Liu Jia glanced at Shenzhen and said coldly, "Beauty, you're so cold. Are you so disrespectful? Do you know what the consequences are if you offend me? You can't expect to have a good life here. It will be too late to come to me when you remember." Shenzhen felt very embarrassed when he saw that the girl rejected him again and again. He changed his kind look and said coldly, "We don't want to know you. Go away." Liu King was also angry. He felt that the boy was too tasteless. He threatened her after failing to flirt with her. He looked at her like an idiot. "Don't be shameless. If you offend Mr. Chen, you will suffer the consequences." Another boy came over from behind Shenzhen. He was muscular and had a fierce look on his face. "Mr. He, don't scare the two little beauties. I'm not afraid." Shenzhen reached out to touch Liu King's face. Liu King quickly dodged. Shenzhen's fingertips brushed across Liu King's face and then put his hand under his nose to smell it, looking intoxicated. "Ah, it smells so good. Rogue." Liu King slapped Shenzhen in the face. Shenzhen was stunned. He didn't expect that there would be a girl who dared to hit him in his own territory. Shenzhen's face turned black and he was furious. He slapped Liu King to the ground and Liu King's face swelled up immediately. "Little bitch, dare to hit me. I'm going to kill you today." "Ah, how can you hit someone?" Liu Jia hurriedly helped Liu King up from the ground and said angrily. Liu King covered her swollen cheeks. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she tried hard not to let them out, and glared at Shenzhen. "What are you looking at? Go do what you need to do. Don't make trouble for yourself." At this time, many students around noticed the situation here. Shenzhen looked around and yelled with his eyes wide open. Those students knew the two devils and turned their heads away from them, taking a sneak peek from time to time. "Shame on you. We'll spank you later. I promise to make you feel like you're in heaven. Haha, kiss me first." He Xiao smiled lewdly and leaned forward to kiss Liu Jia on the face. He was the young master of the He family, named He Feng. He and Shenzhen had similar tastes and had bullied many little girls in school. A big hand suddenly grabbed He Feng's neck and lifted up the 180-pound He Feng with one hand. He Feng tried to pry the big hand open, but he felt that it was not a hand that was pinching his neck, but a pair of pliers. He kicked and hit hard, but it was useless, and his face began to turn red. The owner of this big hand was Su Weifeng. When He Feng was about to suffocate, Su Weifeng forcefully poured him to the ground. His weight of more than 180 kilograms fell flat on the ground with a bang, raising a cloud of dust. "You want to die?" Su Weifeng stared at the two people coldly, as if he was looking at two dead people, looking for death. Shenzhen also reacted at this time, picked up a glass bottle of drink and hit Su Weifeng on the head. "Ah! Be careful!" the two girls screamed. Su Weifeng looked at the glass bottle getting closer and closer in front of him without changing his expression. He stretched out his palm and forcibly blocked the falling glass bottle, then suddenly buckled forward. The glass bottle exploded into pieces on Shenzhen's head. With a scream, Shenzhen fell to the ground with his bleeding head covered. He Feng just caught his breath at this time. At this time, he realized that being able to breathe was such a happy thing. "Fuck." A suppressed voice came out, and He Feng's fist as big as a sandbag rushed towards Su Weifeng. He Feng was too frustrated today. He was beaten up for picking up girls with two devils. Now he wanted to kill this kid. He Feng had practiced before, and he might be a master in the eyes of ordinary people, but he was not good enough in front of Su Weifeng. He was not much better than a child who just learned to walk. He was the first to arrive after the attack and hit He Feng's temple with a quick swing punch, knocking him to the ground again. He Feng struggled to stand up, staggered a few steps before barely standing firm. He was hit twice in a row, and the second time was on his temple. He already had a slight concussion. This was the result of Su Weifeng holding back, otherwise this would have killed him. Boy, you are dead. Not only you, but also you. I will kill you tonight, and then take some videos of you, and post them online. Shenzhen covered his bleeding head, and gritted his teeth. He wanted to kill Su Weifeng right now, but his strength did not allow it. Don't run if you dare. This matter won't end so easily. He Feng also said sternly. The two of them knew that they couldn't get any good results now, so they turned around and left, ready to call someone. No matter how good this kid was at fighting, he would be killed. Did I let you go? Su Weifeng stared at the two of them coldly. He Feng and Shenzhen were stared at by Su Weifeng, and their scalps felt cold. They felt that they were not being stared at by a person, but by a ferocious beast, and they could die at any time. What do you want? Shenzhen said with anger. Is it in vain that you beat my people? You can both talk nonsense, or I will help you beat them. Su Weifeng said coldly, and walked in front of the two of them. Shenzhen and He Feng both subconsciously took a step back. They didn't doubt that Su Weifeng dared to beat them. They just beat them, and now they are still a little dizzy when they walk. Mr. He, we are good men who don't suffer a loss in front of us. Let's remember this, and double it back later. Shenzhen whispered to He Feng, and then slapped He Feng. He felt that, if it was that boy who hit him, he would faint after 2 slaps. He Feng also slapped Shenzhen back. The two of them fought back and forth, and the more they fought, the more angry they became. It seemed that they were hitting Su Weifeng, and they vented their humiliation on each other. One slap was heavier than the other, and they used all their strength. Fuck okay, get out. After hitting him 20 times, Su Weifeng snorted coldly. He Feng and Shenzhen had gloomy faces, glared at Su Weifeng fiercely, and then left quickly, ready to ask someone to come back to ask for revenge. Brother, let's go quickly. These two scumbags are not easy to mess with, and they will definitely bring people to retaliate. They all have backgrounds. A boy walked up to Su Weifeng and whispered something, and then left quickly, for fear of being seen. Thank you for reminding me, brother. It's okay. Su Weifeng said politely. I'm sorry, I caused trouble for brother Feng. Liu King lowered her head in grievance. Silly girl, I didn't protect you well. Su Weifeng stroked Liu King's swollen cheek. Liu King was stunned, and her face began to burn. What was brother Feng going to do? How should I behave? She was a little flustered. She was thinking that the cool feeling on her cheek was very comfortable. Okay, the swelling has subsided this time. Does it still hurt? Su Weifeng smiled and looked at Liu King. Ah, it doesn't hurt anymore. Liu King secretly scolded herself for thinking too much. It turned out that brother Feng was treating her. Liu Jia looked at Su Weifeng with little stars in her eyes. Brother Feng was so handsome just now. She was a little envious of Liu King. It would be great if she was the one who got beaten. After Su Weifeng and his friends finished lunch, they ignored the warnings of He Feng and others, and continued to stroll around the campus. As they walked, they came to the back of the school. There was a small hill here. The vegetation on the hill was delicate and beautiful, and the breeze brought a cool breath. Brother Feng, let's go hiking. The air here is so good. Liu Jia took a deep breath and said. Chapter 723 Du Xiao. Okay, let's see who gets to the mountain first. Su Weifeng ran out first. It must be me. Liu Jia chased after him happily. Wait for me, wait for me. Liu King hurriedly followed. A suppressed voice came from behind a big tree. Su Weifeng and the other two arrived and realized that it was too late to retreat now. They saw a long-haired female student with glasses and a thin and tall boy with glasses hugging each other and being intimate behind the big tree. They were already a little short of oxygen. Seeing Su Weifeng and the other two, the man with glasses and the woman with glasses immediately separated, looking embarrassed. The man with glasses looked at Su Weifeng with two beautiful women and felt envious. Although the woman with glasses was also good looking, she could not compare with Liu King and Liu Jia, two school beauties. Ouch, ouch. The woman with glasses felt that the man's eyes were wrong. As she looked over, she glared at him and pinched him hard on the waist, causing him to scream in pain. This caused Liu King and Liu Jia to look at each other for a while, holding back their smiles. Hello, classmates. We just came here and want to climb the mountain. What's the name of this mountain? Su Weifeng saw that the situation was a bit awkward. The 5 of them couldn't just stare at each other all the time, so he quickly changed the subject. You are freshmen, right? This mountain is called Doctor Mountain. This may be because the school wants to have more doctors, but we all call it Magpie Bridge Mountain, you know. The man with glasses regarded Su Weifeng and his friends as freshmen and winked at them. Su Weifeng didn't explain. After chatting for a few words, he wanted to continue climbing the mountain so as not to delay the 2 little mandarin ducks. Meow, bow. Following the breeze, a faint scream came from the distance, like the sound of a kitten. Brother Feng, it sounds like the sound of a kitten. Let's go and have a look. After all, she is a girl and has no resistance to such small animals. Liu King said immediately. It's a wild cat. There are quite a lot of wild cats in our school. The man with glasses said. When you said that, I suddenly remembered that there seem to be fewer wild cats in our school recently. They may have run to other places. The girl with glasses thought for a while and said. Let's go up and take a look. If the kitten is injured, we will send it to the pet hospital. Su Weifeng said to Liu King and Liu Jia, but he felt a little uneasy. The man with glasses and the woman with glasses decided to follow and see the situation. Anyway, they had time in the afternoon, so it would not be too late to satisfy their curiosity first, and then get intimate. After walking for a while, they smelled a burning smell. As they got closer and closer, a choking burnt smell rushed into their noses. The girls covered their mouths and noses tightly. They quickened their pace, and finally found the source of the smell. They couldn't believe their eyes. They saw 2 male students using iron nails to pierce a tied kitten. They laughed while piercing. There was no intact place on the kitten's body. Countless small holes were oozing blood. The kitten was covered with blood under its body, and its white fur was all dyed red. It was almost dead. Its body gradually stopped struggling, and it only twitched occasionally. The burning smell came from a fireball with black smoke not far away. Although it could no longer be seen, it should be a cat from the shape. Ah! Liu King suddenly screamed in fear, pointing his finger at the bushes not far away. Several people looked in the direction of Liu King's finger and saw a cat head staring at them. It was just a grey cat head with blood in its eyes. The body was nowhere to be found, and it looked like it had just died. There was also a grey thing with blood behind the cat head. At first, no one noticed it and thought it was garbage. After a closer look, it was a peeled cat skin, and the pattern was very similar to that of the cat head. Hearing Liu King scream, the 2 boys realized that someone was coming, and they quickly stopped and stood up. Who are you? The boy with glasses said in a panic, with a scholarly look on his face. It was hard to imagine that he would do such a cruel thing. The other boy was wearing a Versace jacket, looking at Su Weifeng and others coldly, with a very calm expression, and he was not as nervous as he should be if the matter was exposed. Su Weifeng and the man with glasses, who came up with him, were fine, but the 3 girls couldn't stand this scene and immediately vomited. Liu King and Liu Jia really regretted eating so much at noon. Su Weifeng gently patted Liu King and Liu Jia's backs, slowly and putting some true energy, and their stomachs felt better. It's Wang Zijin, the top student in the mathematics department. The man with glasses suddenly pointed at the man with glasses who abused the cat and recognized him. Wang Zijin, you, actually did such a thing. You are not a human being. The woman with glasses is also a cat-loving girl. She has a kitten at home. Seeing this cat abuser, she was so angry that her teeth were itching. Now she wanted to come up and scratch Wang Zijin a few times, but her stomach did not allow her to move. Both students recognized Wang Zijin. He is a big shot in the school. Not only is he a top student, but he is also the director of the Student Union Life Department. It is said that he will be one of the recommended graduate students next year. This is a good student in the teacher's heart, a typical child of other people's families. Su Weifeng was hugging the 2 girls in one hand and comforting them. Liu King and Liu Jia were really scared. Men felt creepy, let alone 2 little girls. Otherwise, I really wanted to teach these 2 cat abusers a lesson immediately and let them know that life needs to be respected. "You beast, I'm going to beat you to death today," the man with glasses yelled, and was about to hit Wang Zijin. Although he was not strong, he was a man. When Wang Zijin saw that he was going to hit him, he immediately hid behind the boy in the versace jacket. He was a typical weak scholar who could only bully cats and dogs, but he would be scared when he met a human. "Stop, don't you know me?" the boy in the versace jacket shouted. "Who are you?" The man with glasses felt that the boy looked familiar and subconsciously felt a little afraid. "Du Sheng," he said word by word with a sinister smile on his face. "What does Du Sheng do?" Su Weifeng also came up at this time and asked curiously when he saw the man with glasses looking a little nervous. "Du Sheng is the son of the vice principal," Chen Zhen said in a serious tone. He had also heard of this name, but he didn't know the person. So what if he is the son of the principal? Today I will let the students see what kind of person the dignified academic bully and the son of the principal are. The woman with glasses recovered at this time and took out her mobile phone to start recording. "Idiot, have you heard of the Du family? I'm from the Du family. If you dare to record a video, do you know what the consequences will be? You can forget about going to school here and don't even dream about working in this city. If you are from the local area, the Du family will definitely take care of you," Du Sheng said viciously. "Our Du family is the most prestigious family in Yangcheng. I was born into a noble family, which is different from you low-class commoners. You are not even worthy of carrying my shoes, and you dare to challenge me. I can crush you to death with just one finger." Chapter 724 Reinforcement. A bunch of idiots. You can't understand the current situation. Who is Mr. Du? He is a child of destiny, a pillar of talent. If you offend Mr. Du, your life will be over. Wang Zijin shook his head and sighed, looking regretful, showing the face of a lackey. The man and the woman with glasses are ordinary college students. They have never come into contact with these people with backgrounds. In their minds, these people are almost like gangsters, and they can't hide from them. If they are really expelled, or can't graduate for some reason, then all these years of hard work will be in vain, and there will be no hope in this life. They are immediately scared, and dare not speak. Although they are very angry in their hearts, they have to bow to reality. "Come here, one of you come over, and take a knife, and I will forgive you, and pretend that nothing happened. Otherwise, you will regret it." Du Sheng threw a skinning knife on the ground, and pointed at the kitten, that was not yet dead on the ground. The girl with glasses gritted her teeth tightly. Although she was afraid of Du Sheng's background, she still couldn't do it to the kitten. The man with glasses had a pounding heart. He looked at Du Sheng, then at the woman with glasses. In the end, he stood by the woman with glasses without moving, choosing to be with his girlfriend. "Okay, very good. Since you don't want the cat to die, then you can die. Only the dead can keep secrets," Du Sheng said with a sinister smile. "Are you a member of the Du family?" Su Weifeng said coldly. "Yes, there is still a sensible one. Kowtow to me, and let the two beauties beside you play with me, and I will let you go. As for these two little glasses who like cats so much, let them be buried with the cats." Du Sheng thought Su Weifeng was begging for mercy, and also noticed the two beauties Liu King and Liu Jia, and said with his head raised. The man with glasses and the woman with glasses were terrified, and their hands were soaked with sweat. Could he really dare to kill someone? In a legal society, he shouldn't dare, but he still had no idea in his heart. After all, the background of the family was not something they could understand. "You dare to make Brother Feng kneel down, you deserve to die." Liu King raised her eyebrows, and in her eyes there was only the master. "The Du family, what kind of thing is that?" Su Weifeng said word by word. As soon as he finished speaking, he kicked Du Sheng's side. With a crisp sound of his right arm snapping, Du Sheng landed accurately on the still burning dead cat, and the flames ignited his versace jacket. Du Sheng screamed and rolled on the ground. The cold sweat on his face mixed with the dust on the ground. His clothes were also tattered. He suddenly turned from a family leader into a street beggar. Wang Zijin quickly took off his clothes to help beat him. He was also panicked when he saw Du Sheng being beaten. Du Sheng was his thigh. He was still waiting to graduate and work in the Du family's company. If Du Sheng took his anger out on him because of this, then his 2 years of licking would be in vain. Someone come, I'm going to be beaten to death. The fire on Du Sheng's body had been extinguished, and he sat on the ground with his arms hugged and shouted. As a member of the Du family, Du Sheng also had bodyguards, but he didn't expect that there would be someone in the school who dared to harm him, so he didn't let the bodyguards follow too close. There was a sound of running, and 4 men in sportswear ran over. Seeing Du Sheng sitting on the ground with a dusty face, they panicked. Boy, you'll have to pay the price. Didn't you kick me? Break his 5 limbs for me. Du Sheng was now confident enough. No matter how good this boy was at fighting, he couldn't beat his bodyguards. These bodyguards were carefully selected by the family and had killed people. Bury these 2 boys alive here. Show their heads first. I want them to see how their women are in ecstasy under my crotch. Today I will show you a field army. Du Sheng said with a lewd smile, and the veins on his head were throbbing. It was painful. What's the big goose calling? You deserve it. You are so arrogant and want to beat me. If you had listened to Master Du earlier, it would have been fine. It's too late to regret it now. Wang Zijin was excited again and jumped out to taunt. Master Du's bodyguards came, just like his bodyguards. Let us go. We didn't see anything. The girl with glasses was also panicking now and began to beg for mercy in fear. It's too late. Wait and serve me well. Maybe I will let you go. Haha. Du Sheng stared at the plump breasts of the girl with glasses and licked his lips. The bald man in the lead had a fierce look in his eyes and was about to rush towards Su Weifeng. He was responsible for the beating of Mr. Du. If he couldn't satisfy Mr. Du, he would have nothing to do. Suddenly, the bald man stopped and opened his hand to stop the other 3 bodyguards, looking at Su Weifeng carefully. Are you Mr. Su? The bald man asked tentatively. He had seen Su Weifeng's portrait, but he didn't dare to confirm it because he hadn't seen the real person. What are you doing? Are you going to rebel? Kill him for me. Otherwise, get out of my Du family. Du Sheng was stunned and very angry in his heart. These bodyguards dared not listen to him. Do you know me? Su Weifeng looked at the bald man and said, Mr. Su, I'll call the old man and give you an explanation. The bald man confirmed Su Weifeng's identity and hurried to the side to make a phone call. Sweat began to appear on his forehead. He had been warned by the family's top leaders. The Du family's head had issued a strict order that anyone who took the initiative to offend Su Weifeng would have his legs broken, and those who offended seriously would be expelled from the Du family. Only Du Sheng was born to a concubine, and his status in the family was not high. In addition, he had been in college and rarely went home, so he was ignored by the family and did not receive the news. Du Sheng already felt bad. He stared at the bald man who was making a phone call nearby, feeling a little nervous. He didn't know what was going on. Could this kid know my Du family? Did he get beaten for nothing today? There were chaotic footsteps, and everyone looked in the direction of the sound. More than a dozen men ran over, led by He-Feng and Chen Zan. After they gathered their bodyguards, they returned to the cafeteria to settle accounts with Su Weifeng, but Su Weifeng had already left. They searched the campus for him again. Finally, someone saw a man in 2 beauties going up the mountain. He-Feng and Chen Zan led people and hurried over. Boy, you are quite good at hiding. You have come here and even found help. No one can save you today. I must destroy you. Chen Zan said breathlessly. Mr. Chen, has this kid offended you too? He is too arrogant and doesn't take our family seriously at all. We must kill him today. Du Sheng was relieved when he saw that it was He-Feng and Chen Zan. It seemed that they were here to cause trouble for this boy. Now it didn't matter if his bodyguard had problems here. Mr. Chen, I'm Du Sheng of the Du family. Du Sheng saw that Chen Zan and the others didn't even look at him, as if they didn't recognize him, so he hurriedly called out, Are you Mr. Du? Haha, I really didn't recognize you. Chen Zan realized that it was Du Sheng in front of him. He and Du Sheng were just acquaintances, but they were not close friends. In addition, Du Sheng looked so dirty that he didn't recognize him. Chapter 725 The Phone Call. What is Mr. Du up to? A dust bath. How fashionable. Hahaha. He-Feng also teased when he saw this. Mr. Du's status in the family was not as high as He-Feng and Chen Zan, so the 2 of them disdained to play with him. As they were talking, the bald man came back with a gloomy face and came to Du Sheng. In Du Sheng's puzzled eyes, he stomped on Du Sheng's right leg and directly broke Du Sheng's calf. Then, regardless of Du Sheng's screams, he came to Su Weifeng with his mobile phone, and the hands-free function of the mobile phone was turned on. Du Sheng screamed miserably on the ground. He just broke an arm and a leg, and his voice was almost hoarse. What's going on? Chen Zhen and Yifeng both widened their eyes. They knew that the bald man was Du Sheng's bodyguard. How could the bodyguard break Du Sheng's leg? Liu King and Liu Jia also exclaimed, startled by this sudden change. The man and woman with glasses were already desperate when Du Sheng's bodyguards came. Then 2 more demons came, and they were even more terrified. Now Du Sheng's bodyguards broke Du Sheng's legs. This world is too crazy. Hello, Mr. Su, I'm Du Qingshan. A tough boy came out, but his posture was very humble. Du Sheng recognized his grandfather's voice and felt that his grandfather was so polite to a man. Suddenly he heard 2 plops and saw Chen Zan and Yifeng kneeling directly on both sides of Su Weifeng, and they were immediately drunk in an ice cave. Hello, Master Du. Su Weifeng also knew the Du family. Their status in Yangcheng was much worse than that of the Shu family. They could only be regarded as a second-rate family. Our Heo has just told me about Du Sheng. I'm really sorry to have caused you trouble. We never knew that this beast Du Sheng had the bad habit of abusing cats. This kind of thing is also a shame for our Du family. I have expelled Du Sheng from the Du family, and his father has been dismissed from the position of principal. Do you think it is okay? No, Grandpa, don't. Du Sheng screamed miserably, even more miserable than when his leg was broken just now. He knew that the reason why he could show off his power was because he was a member of the Du family, even though he was not valued. Now that he has been expelled from the Du family, he has nothing, even worse than his own lackey Wang Zijin. Su Weifeng did not make things difficult for the 2 young masters, Yifeng and Chen Zan. The 2 of them hugged Su Weifeng's thighs, crying and sobbing, which made Su Weifeng embarrassed to take action, but they were bound to be punished by the family when they returned. Chen Zan and Yifeng thanked him profusely and led their people away. Du Sheng's bodyguard also left him to report to the family. The life of the family was cruel enough. He was the young master of the family 10 minutes ago, but now he has become a dog without a home. Su Weifeng also left the back mountain with Liu King, Liu Jia and others. Only Du Sheng and Wang Zijin were still in a daze on the mountain. The man and woman with glasses were still shaking a little. They felt that they had walked on the edge of death. They also knew that all this was because of the man in front of them. Those young masters of the family all knelt in front of him, and Du Sheng was even expelled from the family. Although they didn't know Su Weifeng's identity, he must be a big shot. They thanked Su Weifeng all the way. As they were walking down the mountain, a group of students rushed over, past a few people, and ran quickly up the mountain. Then there was another group, and looking at the distance, the number of people was moving. There must be at least a few hundred people. What's going on? The woman with glasses said in surprise. Look at the school forum. Su Weifeng said with a smile, and then continued to walk down the mountain. Liu King and Liu Jia both had smiles on their faces, and were very satisfied with their photography skills. Cat abuse incident occurred in Xiamen University, and the cat abuser was found at the scene. The forum had a striking headline, and it was accompanied by photos of the cat abuse scene and Du Sheng and the other man smiling sinisterly. The top student turned out to be a pervert who abused cats. Kill them. I fed that kitten 55,555 the day before yesterday. The time on the photo just happened in the back mountain. Let's go quickly. We can't let them off. Oh my god. I forgot to beat these 2 grandsons just now. Let's go back quickly. The man and woman with glasses now understood what was going on, and now they were not afraid of Du Sheng, and hurried back. The students went crazy, and spread the news from 1 to 10, and from 10 to 100, and ran to the back mountain in groups. Some students playing football on the playground and those who were unaware of the situation saw so many people running to the back mountain, and they followed them, although they didn't know why, and more people followed. At this time, Du Sheng and Wang Zijin on the back mountain had already fainted. It would take at least a few months for them to leave the hospital. When they woke up, they would regret it. They would find that they had nothing and became internet celebrities. Give me some space. Let me kick you. My shoes are gone. Ouch. Who kicked my butt? Before I got home, the Chen family and the He family called one after another. The content of the two families was similar. They were very humble. They apologized to Su Weifeng on behalf of the family and compensated Su Weifeng. The two young masters were confined at home to reflect on their mistakes, and a beating was inevitable. Su Weifeng did not embarrass them. Compared with Du Sheng, the two young masters were nothing. Moreover, Su Weifeng accepted all those who offered money, saying that if I didn't accept it, they would be worried. I was doing it for their own good, which made Liu King and Liu Jia laugh. Back in the villa, the women who went to work had not come back yet. Liu King and Liu Jia started to prepare dinner. Only Su Weifeng was left lying on the sofa watching boring TV. He missed the life in the army. Every day was so fulfilling. It would be great if there were missions. Even if there were a few troublemakers, it would be fine. It would bring me some fun. I don't deserve to live a day of eating and waiting to die. Su Weifeng was bored when a phone call came in. Unexpectedly, it was Feng Bao who had not been heard from for a long time. Finally someone remembered me. Su Weifeng was in a good mood. Hello, Bao, what's the matter? Do you miss your master? Su Weifeng quickly answered the phone. Brother Feng, are you home? I need your help with something. Feng Bao's crisp voice came. You didn't even call me master. You are so disrespectful. Su Weifeng deliberately pretended to be majestic. You're not afraid of calling you old. You're not much older than me. Stop joking. Let's get down to business. Tell me if there's anything I can help you with. It's not a big deal. Come out and I'll tell you in detail. I'm at the gate of your community. Why don't you just come in? Why are you making so much trouble? Su Weifeng was very upset, thinking that something bad must be wrong with being so mysterious, but he still left the villa. Before he reached the gate of the community, he saw a beautiful woman wearing tight leather jacket and leather pants and sunglasses leaning against a black Mercedes-Benz G-Class. Bathed in the golden sunlight, her figure was curvy and her leather jacket was tightly held up. The picture revealed a wild beauty, and Su Weifeng couldn't help but be stunned. The beautiful woman waved hard when she saw Su Weifeng. It was Feng Bao. As soon as Su Weifeng arrived at the door, Feng Bao ran over and hugged Su Weifeng's arm. Brother Feng, I miss you. Feng Bao changed her usual cold policewoman look. Several security guards in the guard room looked at Su Weifeng with envy. They often saw Su Weifeng coming in and out with various beauties, sometimes several of them together. Today he changed to a little wildcat. It would be fine if they could have one of them with me. Envy, jealousy, and hatred were inevitable. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.